Genesis. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. The earth was empty and had no shape. Darkness covered the deep waters, and the Spirit of God moved over the surface of the water. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God saw that the light was good. He separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. Evening passed, and morning came. This was the first day. Then God said, "Let there be a space between the waters, to divide the waters from each other." And it was so. God made the space and separated the water under the space from the water above it. He called the space sky. Evening passed, and morning came, the second day. Then God said, "Let the waters under the sky gather together in one place, so dry land can appear." And it happened. God called the dry land earth, and the gathered waters he called seas. God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let the earth produce grass, plants that grow seeds, and trees that grow fruit with seeds inside, each one according to its kind." And it happened. The earth produced grass, seed-bearing plants, and fruit trees with seeds in their fruits, each according to its kind. God saw that it was good. Evening passed, and morning came, the third day. Then God said, "Let there be lights in the sky to separate day from night. Let them mark seasons, days, and years. Let them give light on the earth." And it happened. God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. He also made the stars. God placed them in the sky to give light on the earth, to rule over the day and the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. God saw that it was good. Evening passed, and morning came, the fourth day. Then God said, "Let the waters be filled with living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the sky." So God created the great sea animals and every kind of living thing that fills the waters, and every kind of bird. God saw that it was good. God blessed them and said, "Be fruitful and multiply. Fill the waters in the seas, and let birds multiply on the earth." Evening passed, and morning came, the fifth day. Then God said, "Let the earth produce living creatures, livestock, small animals that scurry along the ground, and wild animals, each according to its kind." And it happened. God made the wild animals, the livestock, and the small ground animals, each according to its kind. God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness. They will rule over the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, the livestock, all the earth, and the small animals on the ground." So God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him, male and female he created them. God blessed them and said, "Be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth and rule over it. Rule over the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, and every living creature that moves on the earth." Then God said, "Look, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the earth, and every tree that has fruit with seeds in it. They will be your food, and I give every green plant for food to all the animals, the birds, and everything that breathes." And it happened just as he said. God saw everything that he had made, and it was very good. Evening passed, and morning came, the sixth day. The creation of the heavens and the earth was completed. Everything was perfectly finished. On the seventh day, God ended all his work. He rested from all that he had done. God blessed the seventh day and made it holy. He rested from his creation work on that day. This is the story of the heavens and the earth when they were made. God made them in the beginning. When the Lord God made the earth and heavens, there were no plants yet. No bushes or crops had grown. There was no rain on the earth, and no man was there to work the ground. But water came up from the ground, and watered all the surface of the land. Then the Lord God formed a man from the dust of the ground. He breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being. God planted a garden in Eden in the east. There he placed the man he had made. God made all kinds of trees grow in the garden, beautiful and good for food. The tree of life was there, and the tree of knowing good and evil was also there. A river flowed from Eden to water the garden. It separated into 4 rivers. The first was Pishon, flowing through the land of Havilah, where there is gold. That land had good gold, and also bdellium and onyx stone. The second river was Gihon, flowing through the land of Cush. The third river was the Tigris, flowing east of Assyria. The fourth river was the Euphrates. God placed the man in the Garden of Eden to work and take care of it. God commanded the man, "You may freely eat from any tree in the garden, but do not eat from the tree of knowing good and evil. If you eat from it, you will surely die." Then the Lord God said, "It's not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper who is just right for him." God formed every wild animal and bird from the ground. He brought them to the man to see what he would name them. Whatever the man called each living creature, that became its name. The man gave names to all the animals and birds, but still no suitable helper was found for him. So God caused the man to fall into a deep sleep. While he was sleeping, he took one of his ribs. He closed up the flesh where he had taken the rib, and God made a woman from the rib. He brought her to the man. The man said, "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, for she was taken out of man. This is why a man leaves his father and mother and is joined to his wife, and they become one body." The man and his wife were both naked, and they felt no shame. The serpent was more clever than any beast the Lord God had made. He said to the woman, "Did God really say you must not eat from any tree?" The woman said, "We may eat the fruit of the trees in the garden." But God said not to eat or touch the tree in the middle of the garden, or we will die. The serpent said, "You will not surely die. God knows that if you eat it, your eyes will be opened. You will be like God, knowing good and evil." The woman saw the tree was good for food, beautiful, and could make one wise. She took the fruit and ate it. She gave some to her husband, and he ate it too. Then their eyes were opened. They realized they were naked. They sewed fig leaves together and made coverings for themselves. They heard the sound of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day. Adam and his wife hid themselves from God among the trees. God called to Adam, "Where are you?" Adam said, "I heard your voice and was afraid because I was naked, so I hid." God said, "Who told you that you were naked? Did you eat from the forbidden tree?" Adam said, "The woman you gave me the fruit, and I ate it." Then God said to the woman, "What have you done?" She said, "The serpent tricked me, and I ate." So the Lord God said to the serpent, "You are cursed above all animals. You will crawl on your belly and eat dust all your life. I will make you and the woman enemies. Her child will crush your head, and you will bruise his heel." To the woman he said, "I will greatly multiply your sorrow in childbirth. In pain you will give birth. Your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you." To Adam he said, "Because you listened to your wife and ate the forbidden fruit, the ground is cursed because of you. You will eat from it with sorrow all your life. Thorns and thistles it will grow for you. You will eat the plants of the field. You will work hard to get your food until you return to the ground. For you were made from dust, and to dust you will return." Adam called his wife's name Eve, because she was the mother of all living. God made garments of animal skins for Adam and his wife, and clothed them. Then God said, The man has become like one of us, knowing good and evil. Now, he must not take from the tree of life and live forever. So God sent Adam out of the Garden of Eden to work the ground from which he was taken. He drove out the man and placed cherubim and a flaming sword to guard the way to the tree of life. Adam knew his wife Eve, and she became pregnant and had a son named Cain. She said, "I have gotten a man from the Lord." Later she had another son and named him Abel. Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain worked the ground. Cain brought an offering of the fruit of the ground to the Lord. Abel also brought an offering, the best of his firstborn sheep. The Lord respected Abel and his offering, but he did not accept Cain's offering. Cain became very angry, and his face showed it. The Lord said to Cain, "Why are you angry? Why is your face down? If you do well, you will be accepted. If not, sin is waiting at your door. It wants to control you, but you must rule over it." Cain talked with Abel, his brother, and while they were in the field, Cain attacked Abel and killed him. The Lord said to Cain, "Where is your brother Abel?" Cain said, "I don't know." "Am I my brother's keeper?" God said, "What have you done?" "Your brother's blood cries to me from the ground. Now you are cursed from the earth which opened its mouth to receive Abel's blood. When you work the ground, it will not yield crops for you. You will be a restless wanderer on the earth." Cain said, "My punishment is more than I can bear. You have driven me from the ground in your face. I will be a fugitive and wanderer. Anyone who finds me will kill me." The Lord said to him, "Not so. Whoever kills Cain will be punished sevenfold." God put a mark on Cain, so no one who found him would kill him. Cain left the Lord's presence and lived in the land of Nod, east of Eden. Cain had a wife. She became pregnant and gave birth to Enoch. Cain built a city and named it after his son, Enoch. Enoch had a son named Irad. Irad had Mehujael. Mehujael had Methusael. Methusael had Lamech. Lamech had two wives, Ada and Zillah. Ada gave birth to Jabal. He was the father of those who live in tents and raise cattle. His brother's name was Jubal. He was the father of all who play harp and flute. Zillah also had a son, Tubal-Cain, who made tools from bronze and iron. His sister was Naamah. Lamech said to his wives, "Ada and Zillah, listen to me. I have killed a man for wounding me, a young man for hurting me. If Cain is avenged 7 times, then Lamech 77 times." Adam knew his wife again, and she had a son named Seth. She said, "God has given me another son instead of Abel, whom Cain killed." Seth had a son named Enosh. Then people began to call on the name of the Lord. This is the book of the generations of Adam. When God created man, he made him in his own likeness. He created them male and female, and blessed them. He called their name man in the day they were created. Adam was 130 years old when he had a son in his own image, named Seth. After Seth was born, Adam lived 800 more years. He had other sons and daughters. Adam lived 930 years total, and then he died. Seth was 105 years old when he had a son named Enosh. After that, Seth lived 807 more years and had other sons and daughters. Seth lived 912 years total, and then he died. Enosh was 90 years old when he had a son named Cainan. Then Enosh lived 815 more years and had other sons and daughters. Enosh lived 905 years total, and then he died. Cainan was 70 years old when he had a son named Mahalaleel. Then Canaan lived 840 more years and had other sons and daughters. Canaan lived 910 years total, and then he died. Mahalaleel was 65 years old when he had a son named Jared. Then Mahalaleel lived 830 more years and had other sons and daughters. Mahalaleel lived 895 years total, and then he died. Jared was 162 years old when he had a son named Enoch. Then Jared lived 800 more years and had other sons and daughters. Jared lived 962 years total, and then he died. Enoch was 65 years old when he had a son named Methuselah. After Methuselah was born, Enoch walked with God 300 years. He had other sons and daughters. Enoch lived 365 years total. Enoch walked with God, and then he was not found, for God took him. Methuselah was 187 years old when he had a son named Lamech. Then Methuselah lived 782 more years and had other sons and daughters. Methuselah lived 969 years total, and then he died. Lamech was 182 years old when he had a son. He named him Noah, saying, "This one will comfort us in our work and toil." Because of the cursed ground, Noah will bring relief. Lamech lived 595 more years after Noah was born. He had other sons and daughters. Lamech lived 777 years total, and then he died. After Noah was 500 years old, he had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. As people began to multiply on the earth, daughters were born to them. The sons of God saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, and they took them as wives. The Lord said, "My spirit will not stay with man forever. He is only flesh. His life will be 120 years." There were giants on the earth in those days, and also afterward. When the sons of God came to the daughters of men, children were born to them. These were mighty men of old, men of great reputation. The Lord saw how great man's wickedness had become. Every thought of his heart was only evil all the time. The Lord was grieved that he had made man on the earth, and his heart was deeply troubled. The Lord said, "I will destroy man whom I have created, both man and beast, creeping things, and birds of the sky, for I am sorry I made them." But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. This is the story of Noah. He was a just man, perfect in his generation. Noah walked with God. Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The earth was corrupt before God and filled with violence. God looked upon the earth and saw that it was ruined. All flesh had corrupted its way on the earth. God said to Noah, "The end of all flesh has come before me. The earth is filled with violence through them. I will destroy them with the earth. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood. Make rooms in it, and cover it with pitch inside and out. This is how you will build it. The length will be 300 cubits, width 50 cubits, and height 30 cubits. Make a window in the ark, a cubit high from the top. Put the door on the side. Make it with lower, middle, and upper decks. I will bring a flood of waters on the earth to destroy all life under heaven. Everything on earth will die, but I will make my covenant with you. You shall enter the ark, you, your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives with you. Bring 2 of every living thing into the ark to keep them alive with you. They shall be male and female, 2 of every kind of bird, animal, and creature that moves on the ground. They will come to you to stay alive. Take every kind of food that is eaten and store it. It will be food for you and for them. Noah did everything just as God commanded him. The Lord said to Noah, "Come into the ark, you and your family, for I have seen that you are righteous before me in this generation. Take with you 7 pairs of every clean animal, male and female, and 1 pair of every unclean animal, male and female. Also take 7 pairs of every kind of bird to keep them alive on the earth. In 7 days I will send rain on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights. I will wipe from the earth every living thing I have made." Noah did all that the Lord commanded him. Noah was 600 years old when the floodwaters came. He and his sons, his wife, and his sons' wives went into the ark to escape the waters. Clean animals, unclean animals, birds, and creatures that move on the ground. Two by two they came to Noah into the ark, male and female, as God had commanded Noah. After 7 days, the floodwaters came on the earth. In the 600th year of Noah's life, on the 17th day of the second month, all the springs of the deep burst open. The windows of heaven were opened. Rain fell on the earth, 40 days and 40 nights. On that same day, Noah and his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, along with his wife and their wives, entered the ark. They and every kind of animal, every creeping thing, and every bird. Pairs of all living creatures came to Noah and entered the ark, male and female of every kind, just as God had commanded. Then the Lord shut the door behind them. The flood continued for 40 days. The waters rose and lifted the ark high above the earth. The waters became deep, and the ark floated on the surface. The waters rose higher and higher until all the high mountains were covered. The water rose more than 15 cubits above the highest mountains. Every living thing on earth died. Birds, livestock, wild animals, all creatures and all people. Everything on dry land that had breath died. God wiped out every living thing on the face of the earth. Only Noah and those with him in the ark remained alive. The waters flooded the earth for 150 days. God remembered Noah and all the animals with him in the ark. He made a wind blow over the earth, and the waters began to go down. The springs of the deep and the windows of heaven were closed. The rain from the sky stopped falling. The water kept going down from the earth. After 150 days, the waters had decreased. On the 17th day of the 7th month, the ark rested on the mountains of Ararat. The waters continued to go down until the 10th month. On the first day of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains could be seen. After 40 days, Noah opened the window of the ark. He sent out a raven, and it flew back and forth until the waters dried up. Then he sent out a dove to see if the water had gone from the earth. But the dove found no place to rest, so it returned to Noah in the ark. The waters still covered the whole earth. Noah reached out and brought the dove back inside. He waited 7 more days and sent the dove out again. This time the dove came back with a fresh olive leaf in its beak. Noah knew the waters had receded from the land. He waited 7 more days and sent the dove out again, but it did not return. In the 601st year of Noah's life, on the first day of the first month, the water had dried up from the earth. Noah removed the covering of the ark and saw that the ground was dry. By the 27th day of the second month, the earth was completely dry. Then God said to Noah, "Come out of the ark, you, your wife, your sons, and their wives with you. Bring out every living thing with you, birds, animals, and all that creeps on the earth, so they may multiply and fill the earth again." Noah came out with his sons, his wife, and his sons' wives. Every animal, every bird, and every creeping creature came out of the ark. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord. He took some of every clean animal and clean bird and offered a burnt offering. The Lord smelled the sweet smell and said in his heart, "I will never again curse the ground because of man, even though his heart is evil from youth. I will never again destroy every living thing as I have done. As long as the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night shall not cease." God blessed Noah and his sons, saying, "Be fruitful, multiply, and fill the earth. All animals, birds, and fish will fear you. I have given them into your hands. Every moving thing that lives will be food for you. Just as I gave you plants, I now give you everything. But you must not eat meat that still has its lifeblood in it. I will hold you accountable for any human life. Whoever sheds human blood, his blood shall be shed by man. For God made humans in his own image. Now be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth and grow in number. God said to Noah and his sons, I now establish my covenant with your children after you, and with every living creature with you, with the birds, the livestock, and every beast of the earth. I will never again destroy all life by a flood. There will never again be a worldwide flood. God said, This is the sign of the covenant I make with you. I have set my rainbow in the clouds. It will be a sign of my promise to all life. When I bring clouds over the earth, the rainbow will appear. I will remember my covenant with every living thing on earth. Never again will the waters become a flood to destroy all life. This rainbow is the sign of the covenant I have made with all living beings. The sons of Noah who came out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham was the father of Canaan. From these three sons the whole earth was populated. Noah, a man of the soil, planted a vineyard. He drank wine, became drunk, and lay uncovered in his tent. Ham saw his father's nakedness and told his two brothers outside. Shem and Japheth took a garment, walked backward, and covered their father. They turned their faces away and did not look at him. When Noah woke from his wine and learned what Ham had done, he said, Cursed be Canaan. He will be the lowest servant to his brothers. He also said, Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem. May Canaan be a servant to Shem. May God enlarge Japheth. May he dwell in the tents of Shem. And may Canaan serve them. After the flood, Noah lived 350 more years. Noah lived a total of 950 years, and then he died. This is the record of Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. They had sons after the flood, the sons of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tiras. The sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togarmah. The sons of Javan, Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. From these the coastland peoples spread into their lands, each with their own language, family, and nation. The sons of Ham, Cush, Mizraim, Phut, and Canaan. The sons of Cush, Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Ramah, and Sabtecha. The sons of Ramah, Sheba, and Dedan. Cush was the father of Nimrod. He began to be mighty in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. So people said, like Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. The beginning of his kingdom was Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh, in the land of Shinar. From that land he went to Assyria and built Nineveh, Rehoboth-ir, Calah, and Resen, between Nineveh and Calah, which was a great city. Mizraim was the father of Ludim, Anamim, Lehabim, Naphtuhim, Pathrusim, Casluhim, from whom the Philistines came, and Caphtorim. Canaan was the father of Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth, and the Jebusites, Amorites, Girgashites, Hivites, Archites, Sinites, Arvadites, Zemarites, and Hamathites. Later the Canaanite families spread out. The Canaanite border reached from Sidon to Gerar, near Gaza, and then towards Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Zeboim, as far as Lasha. These are the sons of Ham by families and languages, in their lands and nations. Sons were also born to Shem, ancestor of all the sons of Eber, an older brother of Japheth. The sons of Shem, Elam, Ashur, Arphaxad, Lud, and Aram. The sons of Aram, Uz, Hul, Gether, and Mash. Arphaxad had a son named Salah, and Salah was the father of Aber. Aber had two sons. The name of one was Peleg, because in his days the earth was divided. His brother's name was Joktan. Joktan was the father of Almodad, Sheleph, Hazarmaveth, Jerah, Hadoram, Uzal, Diklah, Obal, Abimael, Sheba, Ophir, Havilah, and Jobab. All these were sons of Joktan, They lived in the area from Mesha to Safar in the eastern mountains. These were Shem's descendants, by families, languages, lands, and nations. These are the families of Noah's sons, according to their genealogies. From them, the nations spread over the earth after the flood. The whole earth had one language and used the same words. As people moved eastward, they found a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. They said to one another, "Let's make bricks and bake them well." They used bricks instead of stones and tar instead of mortar. They said, "Let's build a city for ourselves with a tower that reaches the sky. We will make a name for ourselves and not be scattered across the whole earth." The Lord came down to see the city and the tower people were building. He said, "They are one people and all speak the same language." This is just the beginning. Now nothing they plan will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language so they can't understand each other. So the Lord scattered them all over the earth. They stopped building the city. That is why it was called Babel, because there the Lord confused their language. From there, the Lord scattered them over the face of the earth. 2 years after the flood, Shem was 100 years old and had Arphaxad. Shem lived 500 more years and had other sons and daughters. Arphaxad was 35 years old when he had Salah. He lived 403 more years and had other sons and daughters. Salah was 30 years old when he had Eber. He lived 403 more years and had other sons and daughters. Eber was 34 years old when he had Peleg. He lived 430 more years and had other sons and daughters. Peleg was 30 years old when he had Reu. He lived 209 more years and had other sons and daughters. Reu was 32 years old when he had Serug. He lived 207 more years and had other sons and daughters. Serug was 30 years old when he had Nahor. He lived 200 more years and had other sons and daughters. Nahor was 29 years old when he had Terah. He lived 119 more years and had other sons and daughters. Terah was 70 years old when he had Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Haran was the father of Lot. Haran died in Ur of the Chaldees, his birthplace, while his father Terah was still alive. Abram and Nahor both married. Abram's wife was Sarai. Nahor's wife was Milcah. Milcah was the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah and Iscah. Sarai could not have children. She was barren. Terah took his son Abram, his grandson Lot, and Sarai, Abram's wife. They left Ur of the Chaldees to go to the land of Canaan. But when they reached Haran, they settled there. Terah lived 205 years, and he died in Haran. The Lord said to Abram, "Leave your country, your relatives, and your father's house. Go to the land that I will show you. I will make you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great. You will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you. All families of the earth will be blessed through you." So Abram left, just as the Lord had told him. Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he left Haran. He took his wife Sarai, his nephew Lot, all their possessions and people. They set out for the land of Canaan, and they arrived there. Abram passed through the land as far as the site of Shechem, at the oak of Moreh. At that time, the Canaanites were living in the land. The Lord appeared to Abram and said, "To your descendants I will give this land." So Abram built an altar there to the Lord who had appeared to him. He moved to the hill country east of Bethel and pitched his tent, with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. There he built another altar and called on the name of the Lord. Then Abram continued his journey, going toward the south. There was a famine in the land. So Abram went down to Egypt to live for a while. The famine was very severe. As he was about to enter Egypt, he said to his wife Sarai, "I know that you are a beautiful woman. When the Egyptians see you, they will say, 'This is his wife,' and they will kill me. But they will let you live. Please say you are my sister, so I will be treated well for your sake, and my life will be spared because of you." When Abram arrived in Egypt, the Egyptians saw that Sarai was very beautiful. Pharaoh's officials saw her and praised her to Pharaoh. She was taken into Pharaoh's palace. He treated Abram well because of her. Abram received sheep, cattle, donkeys, male and female servants, and camels. But the Lord sent serious diseases on Pharaoh and his house because of Sarai, Abram's wife. Pharaoh called Abram and said, "What have you done to me? Why didn't you tell me she was your wife? Why did you say, 'She is my sister,' so I took her to be my wife? Now here is your wife. Take her and go." Then Pharaoh gave orders to his men about Abram. They sent him away with his wife and everything he had. Abram left Egypt with his wife and everything he had. Lot went with him. Abram was very rich in livestock, silver, and gold. He traveled from the south back to Bethel. He went to the place where his tent had been before, between Bethel and Ai. He returned to the altar he had made earlier. There Abram called on the name of the Lord. Lot, who was traveling with Abram, also had flocks, herds, and tents. The land could not support them both living together. Their possessions were too many. So there was strife between the herdsmen of Abram and Lot. The Canaanites and Perizzites were also living in the land. Abram said to Lot, "Let's not have conflict between us. After all, we're family, your herdsmen and mine. Let's separate peacefully. Isn't the whole land before you? If you go left, I'll go right. If you go right, I'll go left." Lot looked up and saw the Jordan Valley, well watered everywhere, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt as you go toward Zoar. This was before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. So Lot chose for himself all the Jordan Valley. He moved eastward. They separated from each other. Abram lived in the land of Canaan, but Lot lived among the cities of the valley. He pitched his tents near Sodom. Now the men of Sodom were very wicked and sinned greatly against the Lord. After Lot had separated from him, the Lord said to Abram, "Lift up your eyes. Look north, south, east, and west. All the land you see I will give to you and your descendants forever. I will make your descendants like the dust of the earth. If anyone could count the dust, then your descendants could be counted. Go, walk through the land, its length and width. I am giving it to you." So Abram moved his tent and went to live near the great trees of Mamre at Hebron. There he built an altar to the Lord. In the days of Amraphel king of Shinar, Arioch of Elasar, Chedorlaomer of Elam, and Tidal king of nations, they went to war against Bera, king of Sodom, Bersha of Gomorrah, Shinab of Admah, Shemeber of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, also called Zoar. All these kings joined forces in the valley of Siddim, which is the Salt Sea. For 12 years they had served Chedorlaomer, but in the 13th year they rebelled. In the 14th year, Chedorlaomer and the kings with him attacked the Rephaim in Ashtaroth, the Zuzim in Ham, the Emim in Shaveh Kiriathaim, and the Horites in the mountains of Seir, as far as El Paran near the desert. Then they turned back and came to En Mishpat, Kadesh, and conquered the Amalekites and the Amorites in Hazazon Tamar. Then the kings of Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboim, and Bela came out. They joined battle in the valley of Siddim against Chedorlaomer and the kings with him, 4 kings against 5. The valley of Siddim was full of tar pits. When the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, some fell into them. The rest fled to the mountains. The 4 kings took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their food and went away. They also took Lot, Abram's nephew, who was living in Sodom. They carried away his possessions and left. A man escaped and told Abram the Hebrew. Abram was living near the trees of Mamre the Amorite. Mamre was the brother of Eshcol and Aner, who were allies with Abram. When Abram heard that his nephew was taken, he called out 318 trained men born in his household. They pursued the enemy as far as Dan. At night, Abram divided his men and attacked them. He chased them north of Damascus, to Hobah. He brought back all the goods. He also rescued Lot, his possessions, the women, and the people. After Abram returned from defeating Chedorlaomer and the kings with him, the king of Sodom went out to meet him. He met him in the valley of Shaveh, also called the King's Valley. Then Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was a priest of God Most High. He blessed Abram and said, "Blessed be Abram by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth. And blessed be God Most High, who delivered your enemies into your hand." Then Abram gave Melchizedek a tenth of everything. The king of Sodom said to Abram, "Give me the people, but keep the goods for yourself." But Abram said, "I have raised my hand to the Lord, God Most High, maker of heaven and earth, that I will not take anything that belongs to you, not even a thread or a sandal strap. So you will never be able to say, 'I made Abram rich.' I will accept only what my men have eaten, and the share that belongs to Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre. They may take their share." After these things, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision. "Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield and your great reward." But Abram said, "Lord God, what will you give me, since I am childless?" "The one who will inherit my estate is Eliezer of Damascus." Abram said, "You have given me no children, so a servant born in my house will be my heir." Then the word of the Lord came to him, "This man will not be your heir. Your own son will be your heir." God took him outside and said, "Look up at the sky and count the stars if you can. So will your descendants be." Abram believed the Lord, and it was counted to him as righteousness. God said, "I am the Lord who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldees, to give you this land to possess it." Abram said, "Lord God, how can I know I will take possession of it?" The Lord said, "Bring me a heifer, a goat, and a ram, each 3 years old, plus a dove and a young pigeon." Abram brought all these to God. He cut them in half and laid the halves opposite each other. But he did not cut the birds in half. Birds of prey came down on the carcasses, but Abram drove them away. As the sun was going down, Abram fell into a deep sleep. A thick and dreadful darkness came over him. Then the Lord said to Abram, "Know for certain that your descendants will be strangers in a foreign land. They will be enslaved and mistreated for 400 years. But I will punish the nation they serve, and afterward they will come out with great possessions. You, however, will go to your fathers in peace. You will be buried at a good old age. In the 4th generation they will return here, because the sin of the Amorites is not yet complete." When the sun had set and darkness had fallen, a smoking firepot and a blazing torch appeared. They passed between the pieces of the animals. On that day, the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, "To your descendants I give this land, from the river of Egypt to the great river Euphrates, the land of the Kenites, Kenizzites, Cadmonites, Hittites, Perizzites, Rephaim, Amorites, Canaanites, Girgashites, and Jebusites." Sarai, Abram's wife, had no children. She had an Egyptian servant named Hagar. Sarai said to Abram, "The Lord has kept me from having children. Go sleep with my servant. Perhaps I can build a family through her." Abram agreed to what Sarai said. After living in Canaan for 10 years, Sarai gave her servant Hagar to Abram as a wife. He slept with Hagar, and she became pregnant. When she knew she was pregnant, she looked down on Sarai. Then Sarai said to Abram, "You are responsible for this wrong. I gave my servant into your arms, and now she despises me. May the Lord judge between you and me." Abram said to Sarai, "She is your servant. Do with her whatever you think is best." Then Sarai treated Hagar harshly. So Hagar ran away. The angel of the Lord found Hagar near a spring in the desert. It was the spring on the way to Shur. He said, "Hagar, servant of Sarai, where have you come from, and where are you going?" She said, "I'm running away from my mistress Sarai." Then the angel of the Lord said, "Go back to your mistress and submit to her." The angel added, "I will increase your descendants so much they cannot be counted." The angel also said, "You are now pregnant and will give birth to a son. You shall name him Ishmael, for the Lord has heard your misery. He will be a wild man. His hand will be against everyone, and everyone's hand against him. He will live in hostility toward all his brothers." Hagar gave this name to the Lord who spoke to her. "You are the God who sees me." She said, "I have now seen the one who sees me." That is why the well was called Bir Lahai Roi. It is between Kadesh and Bered. So Hagar bore Abram a son, and Abram named him Ishmael. Abram was 86 years old when Hagar gave birth to Ishmael. When Abram was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to him and said, "I am Almighty God. Walk before me and be blameless. I will make my covenant between me and you, and will greatly increase your numbers." Abram fell face down, and God spoke with him. "As for me, this is my covenant with you. You will be the father of many nations. No longer will you be called Abram. Your name will be Abraham. For I have made you a father of many nations. I will make you very fruitful. I will make nations and kings come from you. I will establish my covenant as an everlasting covenant between me and you and your descendants after you, for generations to come, to be your God and the God of your descendants. I will give to you and your descendants the land of Canaan, all the land where you now live as a stranger, as a lasting possession, and I will be their God." Then God said to Abraham, "You must keep my covenant, you and your descendants after you. This is my covenant you are to keep. Every male among you shall be circumcised. You must cut the flesh of your foreskin. It will be the sign of the covenant between us. For generations to come, every male must be circumcised at 8 days old. Whether born in your house or bought with money, any male in your household must be circumcised. My covenant will be marked in your body as an everlasting sign. Any uncircumcised male will be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant." God also said to Abraham, "As for Sarai, your wife, you shall not call her Sarai. Her name will be Sarah. I will bless her and give you a son by her. I will bless her, so she will be the mother of nations. Kings of people will come from her." Abraham fell face down. He laughed and said to himself, "Can a man have a child at 100? Can Sarah give birth at 90? And Abraham said to God, "If only Ishmael might live before you." Then God said, "No, Sarah your wife will bear you a son. You will call him Isaac. I will establish my covenant with him and his descendants as an everlasting covenant. As for Ishmael, I have heard you. I will bless him too. I will make him fruitful and greatly increase his numbers. He will be the father of 12 princes, and I will make him a great nation. But my covenant I will establish with Isaac, whom Sarah will bear to you by this time next year." When he had finished speaking, God went up from Abraham. Then Abraham took his son Ishmael and all the males in his household, every male born in his house, and every male he had bought. He circumcised them all that very same day, just as God told him. Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised. His son Ishmael was 13 years old. They were both circumcised on that same day. And every male in Abraham's household, whether born there or bought with money, was circumcised with him. The Lord appeared to Abraham near the trees of Mamre. Abraham was sitting at the entrance of his tent in the heat of the day. He looked up and saw 3 men standing nearby. When he saw them, he ran to meet them and bowed low to the ground. He said, "My Lord, if I have found favor with you, do not pass by your servant. Let a little water be brought so you may wash your feet and rest under the tree. Let me get you something to eat to refresh you. Then you may continue your journey." They answered, "Do as you have said." So Abraham hurried to the tent and said to Sarah, "Quick, take fine flour, knead it, and bake bread." Then Abraham ran to the herd, chose a tender calf, and gave it to a servant. The servant hurried to prepare it. Abraham brought curds and milk, and the calf he had prepared. He set them before the visitors and stood by them under the tree as they ate. They asked him, "Where is your wife Sarah?" He replied, "She's in the tent." One of them said, "I will return about this time next year, and Sarah your wife will have a son." Sarah was listening at the entrance to the tent, which was behind him. Abraham and Sarah were old, well advanced in age. Sarah was past the age of childbearing, so she laughed to herself and said, "After I am old and my husband is old, shall I now have this pleasure?" The Lord said to Abraham, "Why did Sarah laugh? Shall I really bear a child now that I am old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? I will return to you at the appointed time next year, and Sarah shall have a son." Sarah was afraid, so she denied it and said, "I did not laugh." But he said, "Yes, you did laugh." Then the men got up and looked toward Sodom. Abraham went with them to send them on their way. The Lord said, "Shall I hide from Abraham what I'm about to do? Abraham will surely become a great and mighty nation, and all nations of the earth will be blessed through him. I have chosen him, so he will direct his children to keep the way of the Lord, to do what is right and just, so the Lord may bring about what he has promised." Then the Lord said, "The outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is very great. Their sin is very severe. I will go down and see if they have done as the outcry says. If not, I will know." The men turned away and went toward Sodom, but Abraham remained standing before the Lord. Abraham approached and said, "Will you sweep away the righteous with the wicked? What if there are 50 righteous people in the city? Will you really destroy it? Far be it from you to do such a thing, to kill the righteous with the wicked. Shall not the judge of all the earth do right?" The Lord said, "If I find 50 righteous people in the city, I will spare the whole place." Then Abraham said, "Now that I have been so bold to speak to the Lord, what if only 45 are found?" He said, "I will not destroy it if I find 45." Abraham spoke again, "What if only 40 are found?" God replied, "I will not do it for the sake of 40." Then he said, "Do not be angry. What if 30 are found there?" He answered, "I will not do it if I find 30." Abraham said, "Now that I have dared to speak, what if 20 are found?" God said, "For 20's sake, I will not destroy it." Then he said, "What if only 10 are found there?" And God said, "For the sake of 10, I will not destroy it." When the Lord had finished speaking with Abraham, he left, and Abraham returned home. 2 angels arrived at Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting at the city gate. When Lot saw them, he got up to meet them and bowed with his face to the ground. He said, "My lords, please turn aside to your servant's house. Wash your feet and stay the night. Then you can rise early and go on your way." They answered, "No, we will spend the night in the city square." But Lot insisted strongly, So they turned and entered his house. He prepared a meal for them, baked bread without yeast, and they ate. Before they went to bed, all the men of Sodom, young and old, surrounded the house. They called to Lot, "Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us so we can know them." Lot went outside and shut the door behind him. He said, "Please, don't do this wicked thing. Look, I have 2 daughters who have never known a man. Let me bring them out to you. You can do to them as you please. But don't do anything to these men, for they have come under my protection." They said, "Get out of our way." And they said, "This fellow came to live here, and now he acts like a judge. We'll treat you worse than them." They rushed against Lot and tried to break down the door. But the men inside reached out, pulled Lot back in, and shut the door. They struck the men at the door with blindness, so they couldn't find the entrance. The angel said to Lot, "Do you have anyone else here? Sons-in-law, sons, daughters, anyone in the city? Get them out of here, because we are going to destroy this place. The outcry to the Lord is so great that he has sent us to destroy it." So Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-law, who were pledged to marry his daughters. He said, "Hurry and get out of this place. The Lord is about to destroy the city." But his sons-in-law thought he was joking. At dawn, the angels urged Lot, "Hurry, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, or you will be swept away when the city is punished." When he hesitated, the angels took his hand and the hands of his wife and daughters. They led them safely out of the city, for the Lord was merciful to them. As soon as they brought them out, one of the angels said, "Run for your life. Don't look back, and don't stop anywhere in the plain. Flee to the mountains, or you will be destroyed." But Lot said to them, "No, my lords, please. You have shown great kindness to me and saved my life. But I can't flee to the mountains. This disaster will overtake me, and I'll die. Look, there's a small town nearby. Let me flee there. It's very small. Then my life will be spared." The angel said, "Very well, I grant your request. I will not destroy the town you speak of, but flee there quickly, because I can't do anything until you arrive." That town was called Zoar. By the time Lot reached Zoar, the sun had risen over the land. Then the Lord rained down burning sulfur on Sodom and Gomorrah. It came from the Lord out of the heavens. He overthrew those cities and the entire plain, including all who lived in the cities. Even the vegetation was destroyed. But Lot's wife looked back, and she became a pillar of salt. Early the next morning, Abraham got up and went to the place where he had stood before the Lord. He looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah and saw dense smoke rising from the land. It was like smoke from a great furnace. So when God destroyed the cities of the plain, he remembered Abraham. He brought Lot out of the catastrophe that overthrew the cities where Lot had lived. Lot went up from Zoar with his 2 daughters and lived in the mountains. He was afraid to stay in Zoar, so he and his daughters lived in a cave. One day, the older daughter said to the younger, "Our father is old. There is no man here to give us children, as is the custom all over the earth. Let's get our father to drink wine and sleep with him, so we can preserve our family line." That night they got their father drunk, and the older daughter went in and lay with him. He was not aware when she lay down or when she got up. The next night the younger daughter said, "Let's do it again." So they made him drunk again, and the younger daughter lay with him. He was not aware of it then either, so both daughters of Lot became pregnant by their father. The older daughter had a son and named him Moab. He is the father of the Moabites to this day. The younger daughter also had a son and named him Ben-Ami. He is the father of the Ammonites to this day. Abraham moved to the Negev and settled between Kadesh and Shur. While staying in Gerar, Abraham said of Sarah his wife, "She is my sister." So Abimelech king of Gerar sent and took Sarah. But God came to Abimelech in a dream by night and said, "You are as good as dead. You have taken a married woman, and she belongs to another man." Abimelech had not gone near her, so he said, "Lord, will you destroy a righteous nation? Did he not say to me, 'She is my sister'?" And she herself said, "He is my brother." I have done this with a clear conscience and clean hands. Then God said to him in the dream, "Yes, I know you did this with integrity. That's why I kept you from sinning against me. That is why I did not let you touch her. Now return the man's wife, for he is a prophet. He will pray for you, and you will live. But if you don't return her, you and all who are yours will surely die." Early the next morning, Abimelech called all his officials. He told them everything that had happened, and they were very afraid. Then Abimelech called Abraham and said, "What have you done to us? How have I wronged you, that you brought such guilt on me and my kingdom? You have done things to me that should never be done." Abimelech also asked Abraham, "What was your reason for doing this?" Abraham replied, "I thought, there is no fear of God in this place. They will kill me because of my wife. She really is my sister, the daughter of my father, but not of my mother, and she became my wife. When God had me wander from my father's house, I said to her, 'This is how you can show kindness to me. Say wherever we go, he is my brother.' Then Abimelech brought sheep, cattle, and male and female servants. He gave them to Abraham, and he returned Sarah his wife. Abimelech said, 'My land is before you. Live wherever you like.' To Sarah he said, 'I am giving your brother 1,000 pieces of silver. This is to cover the offense before everyone. You are completely cleared.' Then Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Abimelech. He also healed his wife and his female servants, so they could have children again. For the Lord had completely closed every womb in Abimelech's household because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. The Lord kept his word to Sarah and did for her what he had promised. Sarah became pregnant and bore a son to Abraham in his old age. This happened at the very time God had promised. Abraham named his son Isaac, the son Sarah gave him. When Isaac was 8 days old, Abraham circumcised him, as God had commanded. Abraham was 100 years old when Isaac was born. Sarah said, "God has brought me laughter, and everyone who hears will laugh with me." She added, "Who would have said to Abraham that Sarah would nurse children? Yet I have borne him a son in his old age." The child grew and was weaned, and Abraham held a great feast on that day. But Sarah saw the son of Hagar the Egyptian, the one she had borne to Abraham, mocking. She said to Abraham, "Get rid of that slave woman and her son, for that woman's son will never share in the inheritance with my son Isaac." The matter distressed Abraham greatly because it concerned his son. But God said to Abraham, "Do not be distressed about the boy or your servant. Listen to whatever Sarah tells you, for your descendants will be counted through Isaac. I will also make the son of the servant into a nation, because he is your offspring." Early the next morning Abraham got up, took bread and a skin of water. He gave them to Hagar, putting them on her shoulders, and sent her away. She went on her way and wandered in the desert of Beersheba. When the water was gone, she put the boy under one of the bushes. Then she sat down nearby, about a bow shot away. She said, "I cannot watch the boy die." And she sat there, and she began to sob. God heard the boy crying, and the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven. He said, "What is the matter, Hagar? Do not be afraid. God has heard the boy crying where he is. Lift the boy up and take him by the hand, for I will make him into a great nation." Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. She went and filled the skin with water and gave the boy a drink. God was with the boy as he grew up. He lived in the desert and became an archer, He lived in the desert of Paran, and his mother got a wife for him from Egypt. At that time Abimelech and Phicol, the commander of his army, said to Abraham, "God is with you in everything you do. Swear to me here before God that you will not deal falsely with me or my descendants, but show to me and my land the same kindness I have shown to you." Abraham said, "I swear it." Then Abraham complained to Abimelech about a well of water that his servants had seized. But Abimelech said, "I don't know who did this. You never told me. So I only heard about it today." So Abraham gave Abimelech 7 lambs from his flock. Abimelech asked, "What is the meaning of these 7 lambs you have set apart?" Abraham replied, "Accept these 7 lambs from my hand. That way you will witness that I dug this well." So that place was called Beersheba, because the two of them swore an oath there. After they made the agreement at Beersheba, Abimelech and Phicol returned to the land of the Philistines. Abraham planted a tamarisk tree in Beersheba, and there he called on the name of the Lord, the eternal God. And Abraham stayed in the land of the Philistines for a long time. Sometime later God tested Abraham. He said to him, "Abraham." And Abraham replied, "Here I am." God said, "Take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah. Offer him there as a burnt offering on a mountain I will show you." Early the next morning, Abraham got up and saddled his donkey. He took with him 2 servants and his son Isaac. He cut the wood for the burnt offering. He set out for the place God had told him about. On the 3rd day, Abraham looked up and saw the place in the distance. He said to his servants, "Stay here with the donkey. I and the boy will go over there, worship, and then we will return to you." Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and placed it on his son Isaac. He carried the fire and the knife, and the two of them walked on together. Isaac spoke up and said, "Father?" "Yes, my son," Abraham replied. "The fire and the wood are here, but where is the lamb for the offering?" Abraham answered, "God himself will provide the lamb, my son." And the two walked on together. When they reached the place God had told him about, Abraham built an altar there. He arranged the wood, bound his son Isaac, and laid him on the altar on top of the wood. Then he reached out his hand and took the knife to slay his son. But the angel of the Lord called out to him from heaven, "Abraham, Abraham." He replied, "Here I am." "Do not lay a hand on the boy," he said. "Do not do anything to him. Now I know that you fear God, since you have not withheld your only son from me." Abraham looked up and saw a ram caught by its horns in a bush. He went over and took the ram and sacrificed it as a burnt offering instead of his son. So Abraham called that place, "The Lord will provide." To this day it is said, "On the mountain of the Lord it will be provided." The angel of the Lord called to Abraham from heaven a second time. He said, "By myself I have sworn, says the Lord, because you have done this, and have not withheld your only son, I will surely bless you. I will make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and the sand on the seashore. Your descendants will take possession of the cities of their enemies, and through your seed, all nations on earth will be blessed, because you have obeyed my voice." Then Abraham returned to his servants, and they set off together for Beersheba. And Abraham stayed in Beersheba. After these things, Abraham was told, "Milcah also has borne children to your brother Nahor. Uz the firstborn, Buz his brother, Kemuel the father of Aram, Chesed, Hazo, Pildash, Jidlaph, and Bethuel. Bethuel became the father of Rebekah. Milcah bore these 8 sons to Nahor, Abraham's brother. His concubine, whose name was Reumah, also had sons, Teba, Gaham, Tahash, and Makkah. Sarah lived to be 127 years old. She died in Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. Abraham went in to mourn for Sarah and to weep over her. Then he got up from beside his dead wife and spoke to the Hittites. He said, I am a foreigner and stranger among you. Sell me some land for a burial site, so I can bury my dead. The Hittites replied, Hear us, my lord. You are a mighty prince among us. Bury your dead in the choicest of our tombs. No one will refuse you his tomb for burying your dead. Then Abraham rose and bowed to the people of the land, the Hittites. He said, If you are willing to let me bury my dead, speak to Ephron son of Zohar on my behalf. So he will sell me the cave of Machpelah at the end of his field. I will pay full price for a burial site among you. Ephron the Hittite was sitting among them. He answered Abraham in the hearing of all. No, my lord, he said, listen to me. I give you the field and the cave in it. I give it to you in the presence of my people. Bury your dead. Again Abraham bowed down before the people of the land. He said to Ephron, Please listen to me. I will pay the price for the field. Accept it from me so I can bury my dead there. Ephron answered Abraham, Listen to me, my lord. The land is worth 400 shekels of silver, but what is that between us? Go ahead and bury your dead. Abraham agreed to Ephron's terms and weighed out the silver, 400 shekels of silver, according to the weights used by the merchants. So Ephron's field in Machpelah near Mamre, both the field and the cave in it, and all the trees within the borders of the field were legally transferred to Abraham. They became his property in the presence of the Hittites. Afterward, Abraham buried his wife Sarah in the cave in the field of Machpelah, near Mamre, which is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. So the field and the cave in it were legally made over to Abraham, as a burial site from the Hittites. Abraham was now old, and the Lord had blessed him in every way. He said to his senior servant, the one in charge of all he had, Put your hand under my thigh. Swear to me by the Lord, the God of heaven and earth, that you will not get a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites. Go to my country and my own relatives and get a wife for my son Isaac. The servant asked, What if the woman won't come with me? Should I take your son back to the land you came from? Abraham said, No, never take my son back there. The Lord, the God of heaven, brought me from my father's house. He swore to give this land to my offspring. He will send his angel before you. If the woman won't come, you are released from the oath. The servant put his hand under Abraham's thigh and swore to do what Abraham asked. Then he took 10 of his master's camels and left for Aram Naharaim. He went to the town of Nahor. He made the camels kneel near a well. It was evening, the time women came out to draw water. He prayed, Lord, God of my master Abraham, give me success today. Show kindness to my master Abraham. Let it happen this way. When I say to a girl, Please lower your jar that I may drink, and she says, Drink, and I'll water your camels too. Let her be the one you have chosen for Isaac. Before he had finished praying, Rebekah came out with her water jar on her shoulder. She was the daughter of Bethuel, son of Milcah, who was the wife of Abraham's brother Nahor. She was very beautiful, a virgin who had never known a man. She went down to the spring, filled her jar, and came up again. The servant ran to meet her and said, Please give me a little water from your jar. She said, Drink, my lord. And she quickly lowered her jar. After he had drunk, she said, I'll draw water for your camels too. She ran to the well and drew enough for all his camels. The man watched her closely, wondering if the Lord had made his journey successful. When the camels had finished drinking, he gave her a gold nose ring and 2 gold bracelets. He asked, Whose daughter are you? Is there room at your father's house for us to stay? She answered, I am the daughter of Bethuel, the son Milcah bore to Nahor. We have plenty of straw and fodder, and room for you to stay the night. The man bowed and worshipped the Lord. He said, "Blessed be the Lord of my master Abraham. He has led me to the house of my master's relatives." Rebekah ran home and told her mother's household what had happened. Her brother Laban ran out to the man at the spring. When he saw the ring and bracelets and heard Rebekah's story, he went to the man and invited him in. He unloaded the camels, gave them straw and water. He brought water to wash the man's feet and the feet of the men with him. Food was set before him, but he said, "I will not eat until I tell you my message." They said, "Speak." So he told them about Abraham, his son Isaac, and the command to find a wife. He repeated the prayer he made at the spring, and how Rebekah answered exactly. Then he said, "Now tell me, will you show kindness and truth to my master? If not, let me know, so I can go elsewhere." Laban and Bethuel answered, "This is from the Lord. We can't say a word. Here is Rebekah. Take her and let her become Isaac's wife." The servant bowed to the ground and worshipped the Lord. He brought out gold, silver jewelry, and clothing for Rebekah. He also gave precious gifts to her brother and her mother. They ate and drank and spent the night there. When they got up the next morning, he said, "Send me back to my master." Rebekah's brother and mother said, "Let her stay with us 10 more days." But he said, "Do not delay me. The Lord has made my journey successful." So they called Rebekah and asked her, "Will you go with this man?" She said, "I will go." So they sent their sister Rebekah on her way with her nurse and Abraham's servant. They blessed Rebekah and said, "May you become the mother of thousands of 10,000s. May your offspring possess the gates of their enemies." Rebekah and her maids got ready, mounted their camels, and followed the man. Isaac had come from Beer Lahai Roi and was walking in the field toward evening. He looked up and saw camels approaching. Rebekah also looked up and saw Isaac. She got down from her camel. She asked the servant, "Who is that man walking in the field to meet us?" The servant replied, "He is my master." So she covered herself with her veil. The servant told Isaac everything he had done. Isaac brought Rebekah into his mother Sarah's tent, and she became his wife. He loved her, and Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. Abraham took another wife, named Keturah. She bore him Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shuah. Jokshan was the father of Sheba and Dedan. The descendants of Dedan were the Asherites, Letushites, and Leummites. The sons of Midian were Ephah, Epher, Hanok, Abida, and Eldah. All these were descendants of Keturah. Abraham gave everything he owned to Isaac, but while he was still alive, he gave gifts to the sons of his concubines. Then he sent them away from his son Isaac to the east country. Abraham lived 175 years. He breathed his last and died at a good old age, an old man full of years. And he was gathered to his people. His sons Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Machpelah. It was in the field of Ephron near Mamre, the field Abraham had bought from the Hittites. There, Abraham was buried with his wife Sarah. After Abraham's death, God blessed his son Isaac. Isaac lived near Beer Lahai Roi. This is the record of Ishmael, whom Hagar, Sarah's maidservant, bore to Abraham. These are the names of Ishmael's sons listed by their names and families: Nebaioth, the firstborn, then Kedar, Adbeel, Mibsam, Mishma, Duma, Massa, Hadad, Tema, Jetur, Naphish, and Kedemah. These were the sons of Ishmael, and these are their names by their villages and camps. They became 12 tribal rulers according to their tribes. Ishmael lived 137 years. Then he breathed his last and died. He was gathered to his people. His descendants settled from Havilah to Shur, near the border of Egypt, as you go toward Assyria. They lived in hostility toward all their relatives. This is the account of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham was the father of Isaac. and Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah. She was the daughter of Bethuel the Aramean from Paddan Aram, and sister of Laban the Aramean. Isaac prayed to the Lord for his wife, because she was childless. The Lord answered his prayer, and Rebekah became pregnant. The babies struggled together within her, and she said, "Why is this happening to me?" So she went to ask the Lord. The Lord said to her, "Two nations are in your womb. Two peoples will be separated from your body. One will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger." When the time came for her to give birth, there were twin boys in her womb. The first to come out was red, and his whole body was like a hairy garment, so they named him Esau. After this, his brother came out with his hand grasping Esau's heel, so he was named Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when Rebekah gave birth to them. The boys grew up. Esau became a skillful hunter, a man of the open country. But Jacob was a quiet man, staying among the tents. Isaac loved Esau because he enjoyed the wild game he brought, but Rebekah loved Jacob. One day when Jacob was cooking stew, Esau came in from the open country, exhausted. He said to Jacob, "Quick, let me have some of that red stew, I'm starving." That's why he was also called Edom. Jacob replied, "First sell me your birthright." Esau said, "I'm about to die. What good is the birthright to me?" But Jacob said, "Swear to me first." So Esau swore an oath and sold his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and lentil stew. He ate and drank, got up, and left. So Esau despised his birthright. There was a famine in the land, besides the earlier one in Abraham's time. So Isaac went to Abimelech king of the Philistines in Gerar. The Lord appeared to Isaac and said, "Do not go down to Egypt. Live in the land where I tell you to stay. Stay in this land for a while, and I will be with you and bless you. For to you and your descendants I will give all these lands. I will keep the oath I swore to your father Abraham. I will make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky. I will give them all these lands, and through your offspring all nations will be blessed, because Abraham obeyed me and kept my commands." So Isaac stayed in Gerar. When the men of the place asked about his wife, he said, "She is my sister." He was afraid to say, "She is my wife," because he thought they might kill him. Some time later, Abimelech looked out his window and saw Isaac caressing Rebekah. So Abimelech summoned Isaac and said, "She is really your wife." "Why did you say, 'She is my sister'?" Isaac answered, "I thought I might die because of her." Abimelech said, "What have you done to us? One of the men might have taken your wife and brought guilt upon us." So Abimelech gave orders to all the people, "Anyone who touches this man or his wife shall surely be put to death." Isaac planted crops in that land, and in the same year reaped 100-fold. The Lord blessed him, and he became rich. His wealth continued to grow until he became very wealthy. He had so many flocks and herds and servants that the Philistines envied him. They stopped up all the wells his father's servants had dug. Abimelech said to Isaac, "Move away from us. You have become too powerful for us." So Isaac moved away and camped in the valley of Gerar. He reopened the wells dug in his father's time. He gave them the same names his father had given them. Isaac's servants dug in the valley and found a well of fresh water. But the herders of Gerar quarreled with Isaac's herders and said, "The water is ours." So Isaac named the well Esek, because they disputed with him. They dug another well, but they quarreled over that one also. So he named it Sitnah. He moved on from there and dug another well. No one quarreled over it, so he named it Rehoboth. He said, "Now the Lord has given us room, and we will flourish in the land." From there, he went to Beersheba. That night the Lord appeared to him and said, "I am the God of your father Abraham. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. I will bless you and increase your descendants for the sake of my servant Abraham." Isaac built an altar there and called on the name of the Lord. He pitched his tent there, and his servants dug a well. Meanwhile, Abimelech came to him from Gerar with Ahuzath his adviser and Phicol the commander of his army. Isaac asked them, "Why have you come to me, since you were hostile and sent me away?" They answered, "We clearly saw that the Lord was with you. We said, 'Let there be an oath between us. Make a treaty with us. Swear that you will do us no harm, just as we did not harm you. We always treated you well and sent you away in peace. Now you are blessed by the Lord." Isaac made a feast for them, and they ate and drank. Early the next morning the men swore an oath to each other. Then Isaac sent them on their way, and they left in peace. That same day Isaac's servants came and told him about the well they had dug. They said, "We found water." He named it Sheba. And to this day the name of the city is Beersheba. When Esau was 40 years old, he married Judith daughter of Beeri the Hittite, and also Basemath daughter of Elon the Hittite. They were a source of grief to Isaac and Rebekah. When Isaac was old and his eyes were weak, he called for Esau, his older son. He said, "My son." Esau answered, "Here I am." Isaac said, "I am now an old man and don't know the day of my death. Take your weapons, your bow and quiver, and go out into the field to hunt game for me. Prepare the kind of tasty food I like and bring it to me to eat, so that I may give you my blessing before I die." Now Rebekah was listening as Isaac spoke to his son Esau. When Esau left for the field to hunt game, Rebekah said to her son Jacob, "I heard your father say to Esau, 'Bring me game and prepare food, so that I may bless you in the presence of the Lord before I die.' Now, my son, listen carefully and do what I tell you. Go out to the flock and bring me 2 young goats, so I can prepare food your father loves. Take it to your father to eat, so he may bless you before he dies." Jacob said to Rebekah, "But my brother Esau is a hairy man, and I have smooth skin. What if my father touches me? He'll think I'm tricking him and curse me." His mother said, "Let the curse fall on me, my son. Just do what I say." So he went and got the goats and brought them to his mother. She prepared tasty food, just the way Isaac liked it. Then Rebekah took Esau's best clothes which were in the house and put them on Jacob. She covered his hands and the smooth part of his neck with the goatskins. Then she handed the food and bread to Jacob to take to his father. He went to his father and said, "My father." Isaac said, "Yes, who are you, my son?" Jacob said, "I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Please sit up and eat some of my game so you may give me your blessing." Isaac asked, "How did you find it so quickly, my son?" Jacob replied, "The Lord your God gave me success." Isaac said, "Come here so I can touch you, my son, to know whether you really are my son Esau or not." Jacob went close to his father, and Isaac touched him. He said, "The voice is Jacob's, but the hands are Esau's." He did not recognize him, for his hands were hairy like Esau's. So Isaac blessed him. "Are you really my son Esau?" he asked. Jacob said, "I am." Then Isaac said, "Bring me the food to eat, so I may give you my blessing." Jacob brought it to him, and he ate. He also brought wine, and he drank. Then Isaac said, "Come here and kiss me, my son." So Jacob went and kissed him. When Isaac smelled his clothes, he blessed him. He said, "The smell of my son is like a field the Lord has blessed. May God give you heaven's dew and earth's richness, abundance of grain and wine. May nations serve you and peoples bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers, and may your mother's sons bow to you. May those who curse you be cursed, and those who bless you be blessed." After Isaac finished blessing him and Jacob had scarcely left, Esau came in. He prepared food and brought it to his father. He said, "Sit up, father, and eat some of my game." Isaac asked, "Who are you?" He answered, "I am your son, your firstborn, Esau." Isaac trembled violently and said, "Then who was it that brought me game? I blessed him, and indeed he will be blessed." When Esau heard this, he cried out with a loud and bitter cry. He said, "Bless me too, my father." But Isaac said, "Your brother came deceitfully and took your blessing." Esau said, "Is he not rightly named Jacob? He has taken my birthright, and now my blessing." He said, "Haven't you reserved any blessing for me?" Isaac answered, "I have made him lord over you. I have given him all his relatives as servants and sustained him with grain and wine. What then can I do for you, my son?" Esau said, "Do you only have one blessing, my father? Bless me too." Then Esau wept aloud. Isaac answered, "Your dwelling will be away from earth's richness and heaven's dew. You will live by the sword and serve your brother. But when you grow restless, you will throw his yoke from your neck." Esau held a grudge against Jacob because of the blessing. He said to himself, "When my father dies, I will kill my brother Jacob." When Rebekah was told what Esau had said, she sent for Jacob and said, "Your brother Esau is planning to kill you. Flee at once to my brother Laban in Haran. Stay with him for a while until your brother's fury subsides. When he forgets what you did, I'll send for you to come back. Why should I lose you both in one day?" Then Rebekah said to Isaac, "I'm disgusted with these Hittite women. If Jacob marries one of them, my life will not be worth living." Isaac called Jacob and blessed him. He commanded him, "Do not marry a Canaanite woman. Go at once to Paddan Aram, to the house of your mother's father, Bethuel. Take a wife for yourself from among the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. May God Almighty bless you and make you fruitful and increase your numbers. You will become a community of peoples. May He give you the blessing given to Abraham, so that you may take possession of the land where you now live as a stranger, the land God gave to Abraham." Then Isaac sent Jacob on his way, and he went to Paddan Aram, to Laban's son of Bethuel the Aramean. Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob and sent him to Paddan Aram to find a wife, and that Jacob had obeyed his father and mother and gone to Paddan Aram. Esau realized that the Canaanite women displeased his father Isaac, so he went to Ishmael and married Mahalath, the sister of Nebaioth. She was the daughter of Ishmael and became Esau's wife. Jacob left Beersheba and set out for Haran. When he reached a certain place, he stopped for the night because the sun had set. He took one of the stones there, placed it under his head, and lay down to sleep. He had a dream in which he saw a ladder set up on the earth with its top reaching to heaven, and the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. There above it stood the Lord. He said, "I am the Lord, the God of your father Abraham and the God of Isaac. I will give you and your descendants the land on which you are lying. Your descendants will be like the dust of the earth, and you will spread out to the west and the east, to the north and the south. All peoples on earth will be blessed through you and your offspring. I am with you, and will watch over you wherever you go. I will bring you back to this land. I will not leave you until I have done what I promised." When Jacob woke from his sleep, he thought, "Surely the Lord is in this place, and I was not aware of it." He was afraid and said, "How awesome is this place! This is none other than the house of God. This is the gate of heaven." Early the next morning, Jacob took the stone he had placed under his head. He set it up as a pillar and poured oil on top of it. He called that place Bethel, though the city used to be called Luz. Then Jacob made a vow, saying, "If God will be with me and watch over me on this journey, if he gives me food to eat and clothes to wear, so that I return safely to my father's house, then the Lord will be my God. This stone I have set up as a pillar will be God's house, and of all that you give me, I will give you a tenth." Then Jacob continued on his journey and came to the land of the eastern peoples. There he saw a well in the open country with 3 flocks of sheep lying near it. The flocks were watered from that well. A large stone covered the mouth of the well. When all the flocks were gathered, the shepherds would roll the stone away. Then they would water the sheep and put the stone back in place. Jacob asked the shepherds, "My brothers, where are you from?" They said, "We're from Haran." He said, "Do you know Laban, Nahor's grandson?" They replied, "Yes, we know him." Jacob asked, "Is he well?" They answered, "Yes, and here comes his daughter Rachel with the sheep." Jacob said, "Look, it's still broad daylight. It's not time to gather the flocks. Water the sheep and take them back to pasture." But they said, "We can't until all the flocks are gathered. When the stone is rolled away, then we water the sheep." While he was still speaking with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep. She was a shepherdess. When Jacob saw Rachel, daughter of Laban, he went over and rolled the stone away. He watered Laban's sheep for her. Then Jacob kissed Rachel and wept aloud. He told her he was a relative of her father and Rebekah's son. She ran and told her father. As soon as Laban heard the news, he ran to meet Jacob. He embraced him, kissed him, and brought him into his house. Jacob told him all that had happened, and Laban said, "You are my own flesh and blood." After Jacob had stayed a month, Laban said, "You shouldn't work for me for nothing. Tell me what your wages should be." Laban had 2 daughters. The older was Leah, and the younger was Rachel. Leah had weak eyes, but Rachel was beautiful in form and appearance. Jacob was in love with Rachel and said, "I'll work 7 years to marry Rachel, your younger daughter." Laban said, "It's better I give her to you than to another man. Stay with me." So Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, but they seemed like only a few days to him because of his love for her. Then Jacob said to Laban, "Give me my wife, my time is completed." So Laban brought together all the people of the place and held a feast. But when evening came, he took his daughter Leah and gave her to Jacob. And Jacob slept with her. Laban also gave his servant Zilpah to Leah as her maid. When morning came, there was Leah. Jacob said to Laban, "What is this you have done to me? I served you for Rachel, didn't I? Why have you deceived me?" Laban replied, "It's not our custom to give the younger daughter first. Finish this daughter's bridal week, then we'll give you the younger one too, in return for another 7 years of work." And Jacob did so. He finished Leah's week. Then Laban gave him Rachel as his wife. Laban gave his servant Bilhah to Rachel as her maid. Jacob slept with Rachel also, and he loved Rachel more than Leah. He worked for Laban another 7 years. When the Lord saw that Leah was not loved, he enabled her to conceive. But Rachel remained childless. Leah became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She named him Reuben, saying, "It is because the Lord has seen my misery. Surely now my husband will love me." She conceived again and gave birth to a son. She said, "Because the Lord heard I am not loved, he gave me this one too." So she named him Simeon. She conceived again and gave birth to a son. She said, "Now at last my husband will be attached to me, because I have borne him 3 sons." So he was named Levi. She conceived yet again and gave birth to a son. She said, "This time I will praise the Lord." So she named him Judah. Then she stopped having children. When Rachel saw she was not bearing children for Jacob, she became jealous of her sister. She said to Jacob, "Give me children, or I'll die." Jacob became angry and said, "Am I in God's place? Who has kept you from having children?" Then she said, "Here is my maid Bilhah. Sleep with her. She can bear children for me, so I too can build a family through her." So Rachel gave Bilhah to Jacob as a wife, and he slept with her. Bilhah conceived and bore Jacob a son. Then Rachel said, "God has judged me and heard my cry. He has given me a son." So she named him Dan. Bilhah conceived again and bore Jacob a second son. Then Rachel said, "I have had a great struggle with my sister, and I have won." So she named him Naphtali. When Leah saw she had stopped having children, she gave her servant Zilpah to Jacob as a wife. Zilpah bore Jacob a son. Leah said, "What good fortune!" So she named him Gad. Zilpah bore Jacob another son. Leah said, "How happy I am! The women will call me happy." So she named him Asher. During the wheat harvest, Reuben found mandrakes in the field. He brought them to his mother Leah. Rachel said to Leah, "Give me some of your son's mandrakes." But Leah said, "Wasn't it enough you took my husband? Now you want my son's mandrakes too?" Rachel replied, "Very well, he can sleep with you tonight in exchange for your son's mandrakes." So when Jacob came in from the fields that evening, Leah went out to meet him. She said, "You must sleep with me tonight. I have hired you with my son's mandrakes." So he slept with her that night. God listened to Leah, and she conceived again. She bore Jacob a fifth son. Leah said, "God has rewarded me for giving my maid to my husband." So she named him Issachar. Leah conceived again and bore Jacob a sixth son. She said, "God has presented me with a precious gift. My husband will honor me now." So she named him Zebulun. Later she gave birth to a daughter and named her Dinah. Then God remembered Rachel. He listened to her and enabled her to conceive. She became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She said, "God has taken away my shame." She named him Joseph and said, "May the Lord add to me another son." After Rachel gave birth to Joseph, Jacob said to Laban, "Send me on my way. Let me go back to my own homeland. Give me my wives and children, for whom I've served you." But Laban said, "If I've found favor in your eyes, stay. I've learned by divination that the Lord has blessed me because of you." He added, "Name your wages, and I will pay them." Jacob said, "You know how I've worked for you, and how your livestock has fared under my care. The little you had before I came has increased greatly, and the Lord has blessed you wherever I've been. But now, when may I do something for my own household?" Laban asked, "What shall I give you?" Jacob replied, "Don't give me anything. Let me go through your flocks today and remove every speckled or spotted sheep, and every dark-colored lamb and spotted or speckled goat. They will be my wages. My honesty will speak for me in the future. Any goat not speckled or spotted, or lamb not dark-colored, will be considered stolen." Laban said, "Agreed. Let it be as you say." That same day he removed all the male goats that were streaked or spotted, and all the speckled or spotted female goats, every one with white on it, and all the dark-colored lambs. He placed them in the care of his sons, and he put a 3-day journey between himself and Jacob. Jacob continued to tend the rest of Laban's flocks. Jacob took fresh-cut branches from poplar, almond, and plane trees. He made white streaks on them by peeling the bark. He placed the peeled branches in the watering troughs. They were in front of the flocks when they came to drink. When the flocks were in heat and came to drink, they mated in front of the branches. And they bore young that were streaked, speckled, or spotted. Jacob set apart the young animals and made the rest face the streaked and dark-colored animals. He kept his own flock separate from Laban's. Whenever the stronger females were in heat, Jacob placed the branches in the troughs, so they would mate near the branches and produce strong offspring. But when the animals were weak, he did not place the branches there. So the weak animals went to Laban, and the strong ones to Jacob. In this way Jacob grew exceedingly prosperous. He owned large flocks, servants, camels, and donkeys. Jacob heard that Laban's sons were saying, "Jacob has taken everything our father owned. He gained all this wealth from what belonged to our father." Jacob also noticed that Laban's attitude toward him had changed. Then the Lord said to Jacob, "Go back to the land of your fathers and to your relatives, and I will be with you." So Jacob sent for Rachel and Leah to come out to the fields where his flocks were. He said to them, "I see that your father's attitude toward me has changed, but the God of my father has been with me. You know I've worked for your father with all my strength. Yet he has cheated me and changed my wages 10 times. But God has not allowed him to harm me. If he said, 'The speckled ones will be your wages,' then all the flocks bore speckled young. If he said, 'The streaked ones will be your wages,' then all the flocks bore streaked young. So God has taken away your father's livestock and given them to me." In breeding season, I had a dream in which I saw the male goats mating with the flock. They were streaked, speckled, and spotted. The angel of God said to me in the dream, "Jacob." I answered, "Here I am." He said, "Look up and see that all the male goats mating with the flock are streaked, speckled, or spotted. For I have seen all that Laban has been doing to you. I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed a pillar and made a vow to me. Now leave this land at once and go back to your native land." Then Rachel and Leah replied, "Do we still have any share in our father's inheritance? Does he not regard us as foreigners? He has sold us and used up what was paid for us. Surely all the wealth God took from our father belongs to us and our children. So do whatever God has told you." Then Jacob put his children and his wives on camels, and he drove all his livestock ahead of him. He took everything he had acquired in Paddan Aram to go to his father Isaac in the land of Canaan. While Laban was away shearing his sheep, Rachel stole her father's household gods. Jacob deceived Laban by not telling him he was running away. He fled with all he had, crossed the Euphrates River, and headed for the hill country of Gilead. On the third day, Laban was told Jacob had fled. He took his relatives with him and pursued Jacob for 7 days. He caught up with him in the hill country of Gilead. Then God came to Laban in a dream at night and said, "Be careful not to say anything to Jacob, good or bad." Laban caught up with Jacob, who had pitched his tent in the mountains. Laban said, "What have you done? You deceived me and carried off my daughters like captives. Why did you run off secretly and deceive me? You didn't even let me kiss my grandchildren and daughters goodbye. You have done a foolish thing. I have the power to harm you, but last night the God of your father warned me. Now you have gone because you long to return to your father's house. But why did you steal my gods?" Jacob answered, "I was afraid you would take your daughters from me by force. But if you find anyone with your gods, they shall not live. In front of our relatives, see for yourself if anything of yours is here with me." So Laban went into Jacob's tent, then into Leah's tent, and into the tents of the 2 female servants. But he found nothing. Rachel had taken the household gods and put them in the camel's saddle and was sitting on them. Laban searched everything but did not find them. Rachel said to her father, "Don't be angry, my lord, that I cannot stand up. I'm having my monthly period." So he searched but did not find the gods. Jacob was angry and rebuked Laban. He said, "What is my crime? What is my sin? You have searched all my belongings. Have you found anything that belongs to you? I've been with you 20 years. Your sheep and goats have not miscarried. I did not eat rams from your flocks. I bore the loss myself. You demanded payment from me for whatever was stolen. In the day heat consumed me, and at night I froze. Sleep fled from my eyes. I worked in your house for 20 years, 14 for your daughters and 6 for your flocks. You change my wages 10 times. If the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac had not been with me, you would have sent me away empty-handed. But God has seen my hardship and the labor of my hands, and last night he rebuked you." Laban answered, "The daughters are mine, the children are mine, and the flocks are mine. But what can I do today about these daughters of mine, or the children they have borne? Come, let's make a covenant, you and I. Let it serve as a witness between us." So Jacob took a stone and set it up as a pillar. He said to his relatives, "Gather some stones." They took stones and piled them in a heap, and they ate there beside the heap. Laban called it Jegar Sahadutha, and Jacob called it Gilead. Laban said, "This heap is a witness between you and me today." That is why it was called Gilead. It was also called Mizpah, because he said, "May the Lord keep watch between you and me. When we are away from each other, if you mistreat my daughters or take other wives, even though no one is with us, remember, God is a witness between you and me." Laban said to Jacob, "Here is this heap and pillar I have set up. This heap is a witness, and this pillar is a witness. I will not go past this heap to harm you, and you must not go past it to harm me. May the God of Abraham and the God of Nahor judge between us." So Jacob took an oath in the name of the fear of his father Isaac. He offered a sacrifice in the mountains and invited his relatives to a meal. After they had eaten, they spent the night there. Early the next morning, Laban kissed his grandchildren and daughters and blessed them. Then he left and returned home. Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. When Jacob saw them, he said, "This is God's camp." So he named that place Mahanaim. Jacob sent messengers ahead of him to his brother Esau in the land of Seir, the country of Edom. He instructed them, "This is what you are to say to my lord Esau. Your servant Jacob says, I have been staying with Laban and have remained there until now. I have cattle, donkeys, flocks, male and female servants. I am sending this message to you that I may find favor in your sight." When the messengers returned, they said, "We went to your brother Esau, and now he is coming to meet you, and 400 men are with him." In great fear and distress, Jacob divided the people with him into two groups. He thought, if Esau attacks one group, the other may escape. Then Jacob prayed, "O God of my father Abraham and God of my father Isaac, you who said to me, 'Return to your country, and I will make you prosper.' I am not worthy of all the kindness and faithfulness you have shown your servant. When I crossed this Jordan, I had only my staff, but now I have become two groups. Save me, I pray, from the hand of my brother Esau, for I am afraid he will come and attack me. But you said, 'I will surely make you prosper and make your descendants like the sand of the sea.'" That night Jacob selected a gift for his brother Esau: 200 female goats and 20 male goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams, 30 female camels with their young, 40 cows and 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys and 10 male donkeys. He put each herd in the care of his servants and sent them ahead. He instructed the one in front, "When my brother Esau meets you and asks, 'Who do you belong to?' then say, 'They belong to your servant Jacob. They are a gift sent to my lord Esau. And Jacob is coming behind us." He gave the same instructions to the second, third, and all who followed. He thought, "I will pacify him with these gifts I'm sending ahead. Later, when I see him, perhaps he will receive me." So Jacob's gifts went ahead, but he himself spent the night in the camp. That night Jacob got up, took his 2 wives, 2 maidservants, and 11 sons. He crossed the ford of the Jabbok. After he sent them across, he was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until daybreak. When the man saw that he could not overpower him, he touched Jacob's hip so that it was wrenched out of joint. Then the man said, "Let me go, for it is daybreak." But Jacob replied, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." The man asked, "What is your name?" He answered, "Jacob." Then the man said, "Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with humans and have overcome." Jacob said, "Please tell me your name." But he replied, "Why do you ask my name?" Then he blessed him there. So Jacob called the place Peniel, saying, "It is because I saw God face to face, and yet my life was spared." The sun rose above him as he passed Peniel. He was limping because of his hip. That is why the Israelites do not eat the tendon attached to the hip socket, because the man touched Jacob's hip near the socket. Jacob looked up and saw Esau coming with 400 men. He divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and the two servant women. He put the servant women and their children in front, Leah and her children behind them, and Rachel with Joseph last. Jacob went ahead of them and bowed down to the ground 7 times as he got closer to his brother. But Esau ran to meet Jacob. He hugged him, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. Both of them wept. Then Esau looked up and saw the women and children. He asked, "Who are all these people with you?" Jacob answered, "These are the children God has graciously given me." Then the servant women and their children came near and bowed. Leah and her children also came and bowed. Finally, Rachel and Joseph came and bowed too. Esau asked, "What's the meaning of all the animals I met on the road?" Jacob said, "They're a gift for you to gain your favor." But Esau said, "I already have plenty, my brother." "Keep what you have." Jacob replied, "Please, if I have found favor with you, accept this gift from me. Seeing your face is like seeing the face of God, since you have welcomed me kindly. Please take this gift I brought you. God has been very good to me, and I have more than enough." And because Jacob insisted, Esau accepted it. Then Esau said, "Let's be on our way. I'll go ahead of you." But Jacob said, "You know the children are weak, and I have young animals that are nursing. If they're driven too hard for even one day, they'll all die. Please go ahead of me, my lord. I'll travel slowly at the pace of the livestock and children until I come to you in Seir." Esau said, "Then let me leave some of my men with you." But Jacob replied, "There's no need. You've already been kind to me." So Esau returned that day to Seir, but Jacob went to a place called Succoth. There he built a house for himself and shelters for his livestock. That's why the place is called Succoth, meaning shelters. Later Jacob arrived safely in the land of Canaan, at the city of Shechem. He camped just outside the city. He bought the piece of land where he had set up his tent from the sons of Hamor, Shechem's father, for 100 pieces of silver. There he set up an altar and named it El Elohe Israel, which means God, the God of Israel. Dinah, the daughter of Leah, whom she bore to Jacob, went out to see the daughters of the land. Shechem, son of Hamor, the Hivite, the prince of the country, saw her. He took her, slept with her, and violated her. But his soul was strongly drawn to Dinah, and he loved her. He spoke kindly to her. Shechem told his father Hamor, "Get this girl for me to be my wife." Jacob heard that Shechem had defiled Dinah, his daughter, but his sons were in the field, so he kept silent until they came. Hamor, Shechem's father, went out to speak with Jacob. Jacob's sons came from the field when they heard it. They were very angry because Shechem had done a disgraceful thing. This act, defiling Jacob's daughter, should not be done. Hamor spoke to them. "My son Shechem longs for your daughter. Please give her to him as a wife. Let us marry each other's daughters. You can live with us and trade in the land. The land is open to you. Live, trade, and acquire property here. Shechem said to her father and brothers, "Let me find favor in your eyes. Ask me for any dowry or gift. I'll pay whatever you ask. Just let me marry her." Jacob's sons answered Shechem and Hamor deceitfully because he had defiled their sister. They said, "We can't give our sister to a man who's not circumcised. That would bring us shame. But if every male among you gets circumcised like us, then we'll give our daughters and take yours. We'll live with you and become one people. But if you won't do this, we'll take our sister and leave." Their proposal pleased Hamor and Shechem. Shechem quickly did as they asked, for he was deeply in love with Dinah. Hamor and Shechem went to the city gate and spoke to the men. "These men are peaceful. Let them live here and trade. The land is big enough for all of us. Let's marry their daughters and give them ours. But they'll live with us only if every male is circumcised. Won't their wealth and animals become ours? Let's agree, so they'll live with us." All the men at the city gate agreed, and every male was circumcised. 3 days later, while they were still in pain, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brothers, took their swords. They attacked the unsuspecting city and killed all the males. They killed Hamor and Shechem with the sword, rescued Dinah, and left. Jacob's other sons looted the dead and the city. They did this because their sister had been defiled. They took flocks, herds, donkeys, and everything in the city and fields. They captured all the people, the children, and women. They looted every house. Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, "You've made trouble for me. Now the Canaanites and Perizzites may attack us. We are few, and they'll destroy us." But they replied, "Should he treat our sister like a prostitute?" God said to Jacob, "Go to Bethel, live there, and build an altar to me, the God who appeared when you fled from Esau." So Jacob told his family and everyone with him, "Get rid of your foreign gods, purify yourselves, and change clothes. Let's go to Bethel. I'll build an altar to God who answered me in my trouble and protected me on my journey." They gave Jacob all their foreign gods and earrings. He buried them under the oak tree near Shechem. Then they traveled, and the terror of God fell on the towns around them, so no one chased them. Jacob and his family arrived at Luz, now called Bethel, in Canaan. He built an altar and called the place El Bethel, because God appeared to him there when he fled his brother. Deborah, Rebekah's nurse, died. She was buried under an oak near Bethel, named Allon Bakuth. God appeared to Jacob again when he came from Padan Aram, and he blessed him. God said, "Your name is Jacob, but you will not be called that anymore. Your name will be Israel." So he named him Israel. God said to him, "I am God Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a group of nations will come from you. Kings will descend from you. The land I gave to Abraham and Isaac, I give to you and your descendants." Then God went up from him at the place where he talked. Jacob set up a stone pillar at that place and poured a drink offering and oil on it. He called the place where God spoke to him Bethel. They left Bethel. Before they reached Ephrath, Rachel went into hard labor. She had great difficulty giving birth. As she was dying, her midwife said, "Don't be afraid. You have another son." Rachel died during childbirth. She named him Benoni, but Jacob called him Benjamin. They buried Rachel on the way to Ephrath, that is, Bethlehem. Jacob set up a pillar on her grave. It is still called Rachel's tomb. Israel moved on and pitched his tent beyond Migdal Eder. While living there, Reuben slept with Bilhah, his father's concubine, and Israel heard about it. Now Jacob had 12 sons, the sons of Leah, Reuben, Jacob's firstborn, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun, the sons of Rachel, Joseph, and Benjamin, the sons of Bilhah, Rachel's servant, Dan and Naphtali, the sons of Zilpah, Leah's servant, Gad and Asher. These were Jacob's sons, born in Padan Aram. Jacob came to his father Isaac at Mamre. in Kiriath Arba, also called Hebron, where Abraham and Isaac had stayed. Isaac lived 180 years. He died and was gathered to his people, old and full of days. His sons Esau and Jacob buried him. This is the family line of Esau, also called Edom. Esau married women from Canaan. His wives were Adah, daughter of Elon, the Hittite, Oholibamah, daughter of Anah, granddaughter of Zibeon the Hivite, and Bashemath, daughter of Ishmael, sister of Nebajoth. Adah bore Eliphaz to Esau. Bashemath bore Ruel. Oholibamah bore Jush, Jalam, and Korah. These were Esau's sons born in Canaan. Esau took his wives, sons, daughters, and all his household, his animals and property he gained in Canaan, and moved to another land away from his brother Jacob. Their wealth was too great to live together. The land couldn't support them both. So Esau lived in the hill country of Seir. Esau is Edom. This is the record of Esau's descendants, the father of Edomites in Seir. The sons of Esau, Eliphaz, son of Adah, and Reuel, son of Bashemath. Eliphaz's sons, Teman, Omar, Zepho, Gatam, and Kenaz. Timnah was Eliphaz's concubine. She bore Amalek to Eliphaz. These were the grandsons of Adah, Esau's wife. Reuel's sons, Nahath, Zerah, Shammah, and Mizah. These were Bashemath's grandsons. Oholibamah's sons, Jush, Jalam, and Korah. They were Esau's sons, born from his wife Oholibamah. These were the chiefs among Esau's sons. Eliphaz's sons became chiefs: Taman, Omar, Zepho, Kenaz, Korah, Gatam, and Amalek. They were chiefs in Edom from Adah. Reuel's sons became chiefs: Nahath, Zerah, Shammah, and Mizah. They were chiefs from Bashemath. Oholibamah's sons, Jush, Jalam, and Korah, were chiefs from her, daughter of Anah and wife of Esau. These are the Edomite chiefs from Esau's family. Esau is the father of the Edomites. These are the sons of Seir the Horite, who lived in that land: Lotan, Shobal, Zibeon, Anah, Dishon, Ezer, and Dishan. They were chiefs of the Horites in Seir. Lotan's sons, Hori and Hamam. Timnah was Lotan's sister. Shobal's sons, Alvan, Manahath, Ebal, Shepo, and Onam. Zibeon's sons, Aya and Anah. This Anah found hot springs in the wilderness while herding donkeys for Zibeon. Anah's children, Dishon, his son, and Oholibamah, his daughter. Dishon's sons, Hemdan, Eshban, Ithran, and Chiran. Ezer's sons, Bilhan, Zaavan, and Akan. Dishan's sons, Uz and Aran. These were the Horite chiefs: Lotan, Shobal, Zibeon, Anah, Dishon, Ezer, and Dishan. They were the chiefs of the Horites, by clans in Seir. These were the kings who ruled Edom before Israel had any kings. Bela son of Beor was king in Edom. His city was Dinhabah. When Bela died, Jobab son of Zerah from Bozrah became king. When Jobab died, Husham from the land of the Temanites ruled. When Husham died, Hadad son of Bedad ruled. He defeated Midian in Moab. His city was Avith. When Hadad died, Samlah of Masrekah became king. When Samlah died, Shaul of Rehoboth on the river ruled. When Shaul died, Baal-Hanan son of Akbor ruled. When Baal-Hanan died, Hadar became king. His city was Pau. His wife's name was Mehetabel, daughter of Matred, daughter of Mezahab. These were the names of the Edomite chiefs: Timnah, Alva, Jetheth, Oholibamah, Ela, Pinon, Kenaz, Teman, Mibzar, Magdiel, and Iram. These were the chiefs of Edom by their homes and lands. Esau was the father of the Edomites. Jacob lived in the land of Canaan, where his father had stayed. This is the story of Jacob's family. Joseph, 17 years old, tended the flock with his brothers. He worked with the sons of Bilhah and Zilpah, his father's wives. Joseph brought a bad report about them to their father. Israel loved Joseph more than all his sons, because he was born in Jacob's old age. He made Joseph a special coat with many colors. When his brothers saw their father love Joseph more, they hated him and couldn't speak kindly to him. Joseph had a dream and told it to his brothers, and they hated him even more. He said, "Please listen to this dream I had. We were binding sheaves in the field. Suddenly, my sheaf rose up, and your sheaves bowed to mine." His brothers said, "Do you plan to reign over us? Will you rule us?" They hated him even more for his dreams and words. Then he had another dream and told it to his brothers. "Look, I had another dream. The sun, the moon, and 11 stars bowed down to me." He also told it to his father and brothers. His father rebuked him and said, "Will your mother, your brothers, and I bow to you?" His brothers were jealous of him, but his father kept the dream in mind. One day, his brothers went to graze their father's flock in Shechem. Israel said to Joseph, "Your brothers are in Shechem. Go see if all is well." Joseph said, "I will go." He came to Shechem but couldn't find them. A man found him wandering and asked what he was looking for. He said, "I'm looking for my brothers." "Do you know where they are grazing the flock?" The man said, "They've moved on to Dothan." So Joseph went after them and found them in Dothan. When they saw him far away, they plotted to kill him. They said, "Here comes the dreamer. Let's kill him and throw him in a pit. We'll say a wild animal ate him. Then we'll see what comes of his dreams." Reuben heard this and tried to rescue him. He said, "Let's not kill him. Don't shed blood. Throw him in the pit in the wilderness, but don't harm him." Reuben planned to rescue Joseph and return him to their father. When Joseph came to his brothers, they stripped him of his coat, the colorful robe. They took him and threw him into a pit. The pit was empty. There was no water in it. They sat down to eat. They saw a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead with camels carrying spices, balm, and myrrh on their way to Egypt. Judah said, "What do we gain by killing him and hiding it? Let's sell him to the Ishmaelites. He is our brother, our own flesh." His brothers agreed. Midianite traders passed by, and they pulled Joseph out of the pit and sold him for 20 pieces of silver. The traders took Joseph to Egypt. Reuben came back to the pit and saw Joseph was gone. He tore his clothes. He returned to his brothers and said, "The boy is gone. What will I do?" They took Joseph's robe, killed a goat, and dipped the robe in its blood. They brought it to their father and said, "We found this." "Is it your son's robe?" Jacob recognized it and said, "It is my son's robe. A wild animal has torn him apart." Jacob tore his clothes and wore sackcloth. He mourned for many days. All his sons and daughters tried to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. He said, "I will mourn for my son until I die." Meanwhile, the Midianites sold Joseph in Egypt to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh and captain of the guard. At that time, Judah left his brothers and stayed with a man named Hirah in Adullam. There, Judah met the daughter of a Canaanite named Shua. He married her and slept with her. She became pregnant and gave birth to a son named Er. She conceived again and gave birth to a son named Onan. Later she gave birth to another son and named him Shelah. They were in Kezib when she gave birth to him. Judah got a wife for Er, his firstborn. Her name was Tamar. But Er, Judah's firstborn, was wicked before the Lord, so the Lord put him to death. Then Judah told Onan, "Sleep with your brother's wife, and raise children for your brother." But Onan knew the child would not be his, so he spilled his seed on the ground to avoid giving an heir. What he did was evil in the Lord's eyes, so God also put him to death. Then Judah said to Tamar, "Live as a widow in your father's house until Shelah grows up." He was afraid Shelah might die too, like his brothers had. So Tamar went and stayed with her father. A long time passed. Judah's wife, the daughter of Shua, died. After Judah mourned, he went to Timnah to shear sheep with his friend Hirah the Adullamite. Tamar was told, "Your father-in-law is going to Timnah to shear sheep." She took off her widow's clothes, covered herself with a veil, and sat near Enaim on the road to Timnah. She knew Shelah had grown up, but she wasn't given to him as a wife. Judah saw her and thought she was a prostitute, because her face was covered. He turned aside and said, "Let me come to you," not knowing she was his daughter-in-law. She said, "What will you give me to sleep with me?" He said, "I'll send you a young goat from my flock." She said, "Give me a pledge until you send it." He asked, "What pledge shall I give you?" She replied, "Your seal, cord, and the staff in your hand." He gave them to her and slept with her, and she became pregnant by him. She left, took off the veil, and put on her widow's clothes again. Judah sent the goat by his friend Hirah to get back his pledge, but he couldn't find her. He asked the men of the place, "Where is the shrine prostitute at Enaim?" They said, "There's been no prostitute here." He returned to Judah and said, "I didn't find her." Judah said, "Let her keep the pledge, or we'll be laughed at. I tried to send the goat, but you didn't find her." 3 months later, Judah was told, "Tamar, your daughter-in-law, has acted like a prostitute. She's pregnant." Judah said, "Bring her out and let her be burned." As she was brought out, she sent a message to Judah, "I am pregnant by the man who owns these." She said, "Do you recognize this seal, cord, and staff?" Judah recognized them and said, "She is more righteous than I, because I didn't give her to Shelah." He didn't sleep with her again. When the time came for her to give birth, she had twins in her womb. During delivery, one baby put out his hand. The midwife tied a red thread on it and said, "This one came out first." But he pulled back his hand, and his brother came out instead. She said, "What a breach you have made." So he was named Perez. Then his brother came out with the red thread on his hand, and he was named Zerah. Joseph was taken to Egypt, and Potiphar, an Egyptian officer of Pharaoh, bought him from the Ishmaelites. The Lord was with Joseph, so he succeeded in everything, even as a slave in Potiphar's house. Potiphar saw that the Lord was with him and that he gave Joseph success in everything he did. Joseph found favor in Potiphar's eyes and became his personal servant. Potiphar put him in charge of his whole household. From the time he put Joseph in charge, the Lord blessed Potiphar's house for Joseph's sake. The blessing of the Lord was on everything Potiphar owned, both in the house and in the field. Potiphar left everything in Joseph's care. He didn't concern himself with anything except the food he ate. Joseph was well-built and handsome. After a while, Potiphar's wife looked at him with desire and said, "Sleep with me." But Joseph refused. "My master trusts me and holds back nothing except you, his wife. How could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God?" She spoke to him day after day, but he refused to sleep with her or even be near her. One day, Joseph went into the house to do his work, and none of the household servants were inside. She caught him by his coat and said, "Sleep with me." But he left his coat in her hand and ran outside. When she saw he had left his coat and run away, she called her servants and said, "Look, he came in to make fun of me." But I screamed and he ran off, leaving his coat. She kept his coat beside her until her husband came home. She told him, "That Hebrew slave you brought tried to assault me." When I screamed, he left his coat and ran outside. When Potiphar heard his wife's story, he burned with anger. So Joseph's master took him and put him in prison, the place where the king's prisoners were confined. But the Lord was with Joseph in prison and showed him kindness and favor. The prison warden put Joseph in charge of all the prisoners. He was responsible for everything done there. The warden didn't worry about anything under Joseph's care because the Lord was with Joseph and gave him success in all he did. Some time later, the king of Egypt's cupbearer and baker offended their master, Pharaoh. Pharaoh was angry with his two officials, the chief cupbearer and the chief baker. He put them in custody in the house of the captain of the guard, the same prison where Joseph was confined. The captain of the guard assigned Joseph to attend them, and they stayed in prison for some time. Each of them had a dream one night, and each dream had its own meaning. When Joseph came to them in the morning, he saw they looked upset. So he asked Pharaoh's officials, "Why do you look so sad today?" They said, "We had dreams, but no one can interpret them." Joseph said, "Interpretations belong to God. Tell me your dreams." The chief cupbearer told his dream to Joseph. "In my dream, I saw a vine in front of me. The vine had 3 branches. It budded, blossomed, and clusters ripened into grapes. I had Pharaoh's cup in my hand. I took the grapes, squeezed them into the cup, and gave it to Pharaoh." Joseph said, "This is what it means. The 3 branches are 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift up your head and restore you to your position. You will hand Pharaoh his cup again, just like before, when you were his cupbearer. But when you're free, remember me. Show kindness to me. Mention me to Pharaoh and get me out of this prison. I was taken from the land of the Hebrews, and I've done nothing to deserve prison." When the chief baker saw the interpretation was good, he said to Joseph, "I also had a dream. There were 3 baskets of bread on my head. In the top basket were all kinds of baked goods for Pharaoh, but birds were eating from it." Joseph said, "This is what it means. The 3 baskets are 3 days. In 3 days, Pharaoh will lift off your head and hang you on a tree, and birds will eat your flesh." On the 3rd day, Pharaoh's birthday, he gave a feast for all his officials. He lifted up the heads of the chief cupbearer and the chief baker before his officials. He restored the chief cupbearer to his position, so he again put the cup in Pharaoh's hand. But he hanged the chief baker, just as Joseph had said in his interpretation. But the chief cupbearer did not remember Joseph. He forgot him. 2 years later, Pharaoh had a dream. He was standing by the Nile River. 7 fat, healthy cows came up out of the river and grazed in the reeds. Then 7 thin, ugly cows came up after them. They stood beside the fat cows. The thin cows ate up the 7 fat cows. Then Pharaoh woke up. He fell asleep again and had a second dream. 7 healthy heads of grain grew on one stalk. Then 7 thin, scorched heads of grain sprouted up. The thin heads swallowed the healthy ones. Pharaoh woke up and realized it was a dream. In the morning, he was troubled. He sent for all Egypt's magicians and wise men. Pharaoh told them his dreams, but no one could interpret them. Then the chief cupbearer said to Pharaoh, "Today I remember my failure. When Pharaoh was angry with his servants, he put me and the baker in the captain's prison. Each of us had a dream the same night. Each dream had its own meaning. There was a young Hebrew with us, a servant of the captain of the guard. We told him our dreams, and he interpreted them for us. His interpretation came true. I was restored, and the other was executed." Pharaoh sent for Joseph. They quickly brought him from the dungeon. He shaved, changed clothes, and stood before Pharaoh. Pharaoh said, "I had a dream. No one can explain it, but I hear you can." Joseph replied, "I can't do it, but God will give Pharaoh the answer." Pharaoh said, "In my dream, I stood on the bank of the Nile. 7 fat cows came up and grazed. Then 7 thin, sickly cows came up. I've never seen such ugly cows in Egypt. The thin cows ate the fat cows, but looked just as thin afterward. Then I woke up. In my second dream, 7 full heads of grain grew on one stalk. Then 7 thin heads, scorched by the east wind, grew up. They swallowed the good heads. I told this to the magicians, but none could explain it." Joseph said, "Both dreams mean the same thing. God is showing Pharaoh what he's about to do. The 7 fat cows and the 7 good heads of grain are 7 years of abundance. The 7 thin cows and the 7 empty heads are 7 years of famine. God showed Pharaoh this twice because the matter is certain and will happen soon. So let Pharaoh choose a wise, discerning man and set him over Egypt. Appoint officials to collect 1/5 of the crops during the 7 good years. Store the food in cities for the coming famine, so the land may survive. Pharaoh and his officials liked the plan. He said, "Can we find anyone like this man in whom is the Spirit of God?" Pharaoh told Joseph, "God has shown you all this, so you are wiser than anyone else. You shall be in charge of my palace. Only in throne will I be greater than you." Pharaoh said, "I put you in charge of all Egypt." He gave Joseph his signet ring, fine linen clothes, and a gold chain around his neck. He had Joseph ride in the second chariot, and people shouted, "Bow down." So Pharaoh made him ruler over all Egypt. Pharaoh said, "I am Pharaoh, but without your word no one will lift hand or foot in Egypt." He gave Joseph the name Zaphanath-Paneah and gave him Asenath, daughter of Potipherah, as wife. Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh. He traveled throughout Egypt. During the 7 good years the land produced abundantly. Joseph collected and stored grain in cities, as much as the sand of the sea. He stopped keeping records because it was beyond measure. Before the famine came, Asenath bore Joseph 2 sons. Joseph named the firstborn Manasseh, saying, "God made me forget my troubles and my father's house." He named the second Ephraim, saying, "God made me fruitful in the land of suffering." The 7 years of abundance ended, and the 7 years of famine began, just as Joseph had said. There was famine in all lands, but Egypt had food. When Egypt began to feel the famine, the people cried to Pharaoh. He said, "Go to Joseph, do whatever he tells you." Joseph opened the storehouses and sold grain to the Egyptians. The famine was severe. All the countries came to Egypt to buy grain from Joseph because the famine was severe everywhere. When Jacob learned there was grain in Egypt, he said to his sons, "Why are you just standing around?" He said, "I heard there's grain in Egypt. Go there and buy some so we won't die." So 10 of Joseph's brothers went down to buy grain from Egypt. But Jacob didn't send Benjamin because he was afraid something might happen to him. So Israel's sons joined others going to buy grain because the famine was in Canaan too. Joseph was governor of Egypt and the one selling grain to everyone. His brothers came and bowed with their faces to the ground. Joseph saw them and recognized them, but he pretended not to know them and spoke harshly. "Where are you from?" he asked. "From Canaan," they replied, "to buy food." Joseph knew who they were, but they didn't recognize him. He remembered his dreams about them and said, "You're spies. You came to see where the land is weak." They said, "No, my lord. We came to buy food. We are all sons of one man. We are honest. We're not spies." But Joseph said, "No. You've come to find our land's weaknesses." They replied, "There were 12 brothers. We are sons of one man in Canaan. The youngest is with our father, and one is no more." Joseph said, "It's just as I said, you're spies. Here's how you'll be tested. You won't leave until your youngest brother comes here. Send one of you to get him. The rest of you will stay in prison. That way, your words can be tested. If you're lying, then you are spies." He put them all in prison for 3 days. On the 3rd day, Joseph said, "I fear God. Do this and live. Let one of you stay in prison. The rest can go home with grain for your families. But bring your youngest brother to me. Then your words will be proven true." They said to one another, "We're being punished for what we did to our brother. We saw his distress when he begged us, but we wouldn't listen. That's why this trouble has come." Reuben said, "Didn't I tell you not to harm the boy?" but you wouldn't listen. Now we must pay for his blood." They didn't know Joseph understood them, because he was using an interpreter. Joseph turned away and wept. Then he returned and spoke to them. He chose Simeon and had him bound before their eyes. Joseph gave orders to fill their sacks with grain, return their money, and give them supplies for the journey. They loaded the grain on their donkeys and left. At a stop, one brother opened his sack to feed his donkey and saw his money in the sack. He said, "My money's back in the sack." They were terrified and said, "What has God done to us?" They returned to Canaan and told Jacob everything. They said, "The man in charge spoke harshly and accused us of spying. We told him we're honest, not spies. We are 12 brothers, sons of one man. One is gone, and the youngest is with our father." The man said, "Bring your youngest brother, then I'll know you're honest, and I'll free your brother." Then they emptied their sacks. Each man found his money in the sack. They and their father were afraid. Jacob said, "You've taken my children from me. Joseph is gone. Simeon is gone. Now you want Benjamin?" "Everything is against me," Reuben said to his father. "You may kill my 2 sons if I don't bring Benjamin back. Put him in my hands. I'll bring him back to you." But Jacob said, "My son will not go with you. His brother is dead, and he's all I have left. If harm comes to him on the journey, you'll bring my gray head down to the grave in sorrow." The famine was still severe in the land. When they had eaten all the grain from Egypt, their father said, "Go back and buy a little more food." But Judah said, "The man warned us. You won't see me unless your brother is with you. If you send our brother, we'll go. If not, we won't." "The man warned us." Israel asked, "Why did you tell him about another brother?" They answered, "He asked directly about our family. We only answered him. How could we know he'd say, 'Bring him'?" Then Judah said, "Send the boy with me. We'll leave now so we don't die. Us, you, and our children. I'll take full responsibility for him. If I don't bring him back, I'll bear the blame forever." If we hadn't waited, we could have gone and returned twice. Their father Israel said, "If it must be so, do this. Take gifts for the man. A little balm, honey, spices, myrrh, pistachios, and almonds. Take double the money and return the silver that was in your sacks. Maybe it was a mistake. Take your brother and go back to the man. May God Almighty give you mercy before him, so he'll release your other brother and Benjamin. As for me, if I lose my children, then I am bereaved." So they took the gifts, double the money, and Benjamin, and went to Egypt and stood before Joseph. When Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he told his house steward, "Bring them to my house. Kill an animal and prepare a meal. They will eat with me at noon." The steward did as Joseph said and brought the men to his house. They were afraid and said, "We're being brought in because of the money in our sacks. He may attack us, take us as slaves, and seize our donkeys." They approached Joseph's steward and spoke at the house entrance. "Sir, we came before to buy food, but at the inn, we opened our sacks and found our money inside. We've brought it back, and more to buy more food. We don't know who put the money in our sacks." The steward replied, "Peace to you. Don't be afraid. Your God and your father's God gave you treasure. I received your money." Then he brought Simeon out to them. The steward took them into Joseph's house, gave them water to wash, and fed their donkeys. They prepared their gifts for Joseph's arrival at noon, for they heard they would eat there. When Joseph came in, they gave him the gifts and bowed to the ground before him. He asked about their well-being and said, "Is your father well, the old man you spoke about? Is he alive?" They answered, "Your servant our father is well and still alive." Then they bowed down in respect. When Joseph saw Benjamin, he asked, "Is this your youngest brother you told me about?" He said, "God be gracious to you, my son." Joseph was deeply moved and hurried out to weep in private. He went into his room and cried. Then he washed his face and came out, controlling himself, and said, "Serve the food." They served him by himself, his brothers by themselves, and the Egyptians separately. Because Egyptians didn't eat with Hebrews, that was detestable to them. The brothers were seated in order by age, and they looked at each other in amazement. Joseph gave them food from his table, but Benjamin's portion was 5 times more than the others. So they feasted and drank freely with him. Joseph gave orders to his steward. "Fill the men's sacks with as much food as they can carry. Put each man's money in the top of his sack. Put my silver cup in the youngest one's sack, along with his grain money." The steward did as Joseph ordered. At dawn, the men were sent on their way with their donkeys. They had not gone far from the city when Joseph said to his steward, "Go after them and say, 'Why have you repaid good with evil? Isn't this the cup my master drinks from and uses for divination? You have done wrong.'" The steward caught up and repeated these words. They replied, "Why say such things? We would never do that. We brought the money back from last time. Why would we steal silver or gold from your master's house? If any of us has it, he will die, and the rest of us will become your slaves." He said, "Let it be as you say. Whoever has it will become my slave. The rest will go free." Each quickly lowered his sack to the ground and opened it. The steward searched, beginning with the oldest and ending with the youngest. The cup was found in Benjamin's sack. They tore their clothes in grief, loaded their donkeys, and returned to the city. Joseph was still in his house when Judah and his brothers arrived. They fell to the ground before him. Joseph said, "What is this you've done? Don't you know a man like me can find things out by divination?" Judah replied, "What can we say? How can we prove our innocence? God has uncovered our guilt. We are now your slaves, both we and the one who had the cup." Joseph said, "Far be it from me to do that. Only the man with the cup will be my slave. The rest may go home." Then Judah stepped forward and said, "Please let me speak to you, my lord. Don't be angry. You asked, 'Do you have a father or another brother?' We answered, 'We have a father, an old man, and a young brother. His brother is dead, and he's the only son left from his mother. Our father loves him very much. You said, 'Bring him to me so I may see him.' We said, 'The boy can't leave his father. If he does, his father will die.' But you told us, 'Unless your youngest brother comes, you will not see my face again.' When we went back to our father, we told him what you said. Later, our father told us to come again and buy more food. We said, 'We can't go without our youngest brother. We must bring him to see the man.' Then our father said, 'You know my wife bore me 2 sons. One is gone.' I said, 'He must have been torn to pieces, and I haven't seen him since. If you take this one and harm comes to him, you'll bring my gray head to the grave in sorrow. So if I go back without the boy, my father, whose life is bound to him, will die. Your servant guaranteed the boy's safety.' I said, 'If I don't bring him back, I'll bear the blame forever. Now, please let me stay as your slave instead of the boy. Let the boy return with his brothers. How can I go back without him? I couldn't bear to see the pain it would bring my father.' Then Joseph could no longer control himself before all who stood by him. He cried out, 'Everyone, leave my presence.' So no one stayed while Joseph made himself known to his brothers. He wept so loudly that the Egyptians heard it, and Pharaoh's household heard. Joseph said to his brothers, 'I am Joseph. Is my father still alive?' But his brothers were speechless, terrified in his presence. Joseph said, 'Come close to me.' They came near, and he said, 'I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Egypt. But don't be upset or angry with yourselves for selling me here. God sent me ahead to save lives. The famine has been in the land for 2 years, and 5 more years are coming without plowing or harvest. God sent me ahead of you to preserve you as a remnant on earth and save your lives. So it wasn't you who sent me here, but God. He made me father to Pharaoh, lord of all his house, and ruler over all Egypt. Hurry back to my father and say, 'This is what your son Joseph says. God has made me lord of all Egypt. Come down to me without delay. You shall live in Goshen and be near me, you, your children, grandchildren, flocks, herds, and all you have. I will provide for you there, because 5 more years of famine are coming. Otherwise, you and your household would become poor. You can see with your own eyes, and Benjamin can too, that I am speaking to you. Tell my father about all my honor in Egypt and everything you've seen. Then bring my father here quickly.' He threw his arms around Benjamin and Benjamin wept on his shoulder. He kissed all his brothers and wept over them. Afterward, his brothers talked with him. When the news reached Pharaoh's palace that Joseph's brothers had come, Pharaoh and his officials were pleased. Pharaoh said to Joseph, 'Tell your brothers, do this. Load your animals and go to Canaan. Bring your father and families back to me. I'll give you the best of Egypt, and you'll eat the best food. Tell them, take carts from Egypt for your children and wives. Bring your father and come. Never mind your belongings, because the best of Egypt will be yours.' So the sons of Israel did this. Joseph gave them carts, as Pharaoh commanded. He gave them supplies for the journey. To each he gave clothes, but to Benjamin he gave 300 silver pieces and 5 sets of clothes. He sent his father 10 donkeys loaded with Egypt's best goods, and 10 female donkeys with grain, bread, and food for the journey. He sent his brothers away, and as they left he said, 'Don't quarrel on the way.' They went up out of Egypt and came to their father Jacob in Canaan. They told him, 'Joseph is still alive. He's ruler over all Egypt.' Jacob was stunned and didn't believe them. But when they told him everything Joseph had said, and he saw the carts Joseph had sent, the spirit of Jacob revived, and Israel said, 'My son Joseph is still alive. I will go and see him before I die.' Israel set out with all he had and came to Beersheba. There he offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. That night God spoke to Israel in a vision, 'Jacob, Jacob.' He replied, 'Here I am.' God said, 'I am God, the God of your father. Do not be afraid to go to Egypt, for I will make you a great nation there. I will go down with you to Egypt, and I will surely bring you back again, and Joseph's hand will close your eyes.' Jacob left Beersheba. His sons carried their father, their children, and their wives in the carts Pharaoh had sent. They took their livestock and all they had gained in Canaan and went to Egypt, Jacob and all his descendants. He brought his sons and grandsons, his daughters and granddaughters, all his offspring to Egypt. Here are the names of the sons of Israel who went to Egypt: Reuben, Jacob's firstborn; Reuben's sons, Hanok, Palu, Hezron, and Carmi; Simeon's sons, Jemuel, Jamin, Ohad, Jachin, Zohar, and Shaul, born to a Canaanite woman; Levi's sons, Gershon, Kohath, and Merari; Judah's sons, Er, Onan, Shelah, Perez, and Zerah. But Er and Onan died in Canaan. Perez's sons, Hezron and Hamul; Issachar's sons, Tola, Pua, Jashub, and Shimron; Zebulun's sons, Sered, Elon, and Jaleel. These were Leah's descendants, born to Jacob in Paddan Aram, besides his daughter Dinah. The total of Leah's descendants, 33. Gad's sons, Ziphion, Haggi, Shuni, Esbon, Eri, Arodi, and Areli. Asher's sons, Imnah, Ishva, Ishvi, and Beriah. Their sister was Serah. Beriah's sons, Heber and Malchiel. These were the children of Zilpah, given to Leah by Laban. She bore 16 descendants for Jacob. The sons of Jacob's wife Rachel, Joseph and Benjamin. Joseph's sons, born in Egypt, Manasseh and Ephraim, born to him by Asenath, daughter of Potipharah, priest of On. Benjamin's sons, Bela, Becher, Ashbel, Gera, Naaman, Ehi, Rosh, Muppim, Huppim, and Ard. These were Rachel's descendants, 14 in all. Dan's son, Hushim. Naphtali's sons, Jaziel, Guni, Jezer, and Shillem. These were the descendants of Bilhah, given to Rachel by Laban. She bore 7 descendants for Jacob. All those who went to Egypt with Jacob, his direct descendants, numbered 66. With Joseph's 2 sons in Egypt, the total number of Jacob's family in Egypt was 70. Jacob sent Judah ahead to Joseph to get directions to Goshen. When they arrived in Goshen, Joseph prepared his chariot and went to meet his father. As soon as Joseph appeared, he threw his arms around his father and wept for a long time. Israel said, "Now I can die, since I have seen your face and know you are still alive." Then Joseph said to his brothers and his father's household, "I'll go and speak to Pharaoh. I'll tell him, 'My brothers and my father's family have come from Canaan. The men are shepherds, and they've brought their flocks and herds.' When Pharaoh calls you and asks your occupation, say, 'We've been shepherds all our lives, like our fathers before us.' Then you'll be allowed to live in Goshen, because Egyptians don't like to mix with shepherds." Joseph went and told Pharaoh, "My father and brothers have arrived from Canaan. They've brought their flocks, herds, and everything they own. They are now in Goshen." Joseph chose 5 of his brothers and presented them to Pharaoh. Pharaoh asked, "What is your occupation?" They said, "Your servants are shepherds, just like our ancestors." They continued, "We've come to stay here temporarily, because the famine is severe in Canaan. There is no pasture for our flocks. Please let us settle in Goshen." Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Your father and brothers have come to you. The land of Egypt is before you. Settle them in the best part, in Goshen. If you know any capable men among them, put them in charge of my livestock." Joseph brought in his father Jacob and introduced him to Pharaoh. Jacob blessed Pharaoh. Pharaoh asked, "How old are you?" Jacob replied, "I've lived 130 years. My years have been few and hard. I haven't lived as long as my ancestors." Jacob blessed Pharaoh again and left his presence. Joseph settled his family in Egypt and gave them property in the best part of the land, Ramesses, as Pharaoh directed. He provided food for his father, brothers, and all their households according to their number. There was no food in the land, for the famine was very severe. Egypt and Canaan wasted away because of the famine. Joseph collected all the money in Egypt and Canaan for the grain people bought and brought it to Pharaoh's house. When the money ran out, the Egyptians said, "Give us food." "Why should we die before your eyes? Our money is gone." Joseph said, "Bring your livestock, and I'll give you food in exchange." So they brought their horses, flocks, herds, and donkeys. Joseph gave them food in exchange for their animals that year. When that year ended, they came again and said, "We have nothing left but our bodies and land. Why should we die before your eyes? Buy us and our land in exchange for food. We'll become Pharaoh's slaves, and our land will belong to him. Give us seed so we may live and not die, and the land won't become desolate." So Joseph bought all the land in Egypt for Pharaoh. Every Egyptian sold his field because the famine was severe. The land became Pharaoh's. As for the people, he made them slaves from one end of Egypt to the other. But he did not buy the land of the priests, because they received a fixed allowance from Pharaoh. They lived off that allowance and didn't sell their land. Joseph said to the people, "I've bought you and your land for Pharaoh. Here is seed for you. Plant the ground. But when you harvest, give 1/5 to Pharaoh. You may keep the other 4 parts for seed and for food for yourselves and your families." They replied, "You have saved our lives. We are grateful to be Pharaoh's slaves." So Joseph made it a law in Egypt, still in effect today, that Pharaoh should receive 1/5 of all crops. Only the priest's land didn't become Pharaoh's. Israel lived in Egypt, in Goshen. They acquired property there and were fruitful and increased greatly. Jacob lived in Egypt 17 years. He lived a total of 147 years. When Israel was near death, he called his son Joseph and said, "If I've found favor in your eyes, put your hand under my thigh. Promise to deal kindly and faithfully with me. Do not bury me in Egypt. When I die, carry me out of Egypt and bury me in my ancestors' tomb." Joseph said, "I will do as you say." Jacob said, "Swear to me." Joseph swore, and Israel bowed in worship on the bed's head. Some time later, Joseph was told, "Your father is ill." So he took his two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim, with him. When Jacob was told, "Your son Joseph has come to you," Israel strengthened himself and sat up in bed. Jacob said to Joseph, "God Almighty appeared to me at Luz in Canaan and blessed me. He said, 'I will make you fruitful and multiply you. I will make you a group of nations and give this land to your descendants.' Now your two sons born in Egypt before I came here, Ephraim and Manasseh, are mine. Just as Reuben and Simeon are mine, they will be counted as my sons. Any children born to you after them will be yours and will inherit land under their brothers' names. As I was returning from Paddan, Rachel died beside me in Canaan, on the way to Ephrath. I buried her there beside the road to Ephrath, that is Bethlehem." When Israel saw Joseph's sons, he asked, "Who are these?" Joseph said, "They are my sons, whom God has given me here." Israel said, "Bring them to me so I may bless them." Israel's eyes were failing because of old age, and he could hardly see. So Joseph brought them close to him, and his father kissed and embraced them. Israel said, "I never expected to see your face again, but now God has even let me see your children." Joseph moved them from Israel's knees and bowed down with his face to the ground. Joseph took both of them, Ephraim on his right toward Israel's left hand, and Manasseh on his left toward Israel's right hand, and brought them close to him. But Israel reached out his right hand and put it on Ephraim's head, though he was the younger, and his left hand on Manasseh's head. He crossed his arms, though Manasseh was the firstborn. Then he blessed Joseph and said, "May the God before whom my fathers Abraham and Isaac walked, the God who has been my shepherd all my life, the angel who has delivered me from all harm, may he bless these boys. May they be called by my name and by the names of my fathers Abraham and Isaac. May they grow into a great multitude on the earth." When Joseph saw his father placing his right hand on Ephraim's head, he was displeased. He took hold of his father's hand to move it from Ephraim's head to Manasseh's. Joseph said, "No, my father, this one is the firstborn. Put your right hand on his head." But his father refused and said, "I know, my son, I know. Manasseh will become great, but his younger brother will be greater. His descendants will become a multitude of nations." He blessed them that day and said, "By you Israel will bless, saying, 'May God make you like Ephraim and Manasseh.'" So he put Ephraim ahead of Manasseh. Then Israel said to Joseph, "I am about to die, but God will be with you and take you back to the land of your fathers. To you I give one more portion than to your brothers. The ridge of land I took from the Amorites with my sword and bow." Jacob called his sons and said, "Gather around so I can tell you what will happen in the days to come. Come together and listen, sons of Jacob. Listen to your father Israel. Reuben, you are my firstborn, my might, the first sign of my strength, excelling in honor, excelling in power. Unstable as water, you will no longer excel, because you went to your father's bed. Then you defiled it. You lay on my couch. Simeon and Levi are brothers. Their swords are weapons of violence. Let me not enter their council, nor join their assembly, for they killed men in anger and hamstrung oxen as they pleased. Cursed be their anger, so fierce, and their fury, so cruel. I will scatter them in Jacob and disperse them in Israel. Judah, your brothers will praise you. Your hand will be on your enemies' necks. Your father's sons will bow to you. You are a lion's cub, Judah. You return from the prey, my son. Like a lion, he crouches and lies down. Like a lioness, who dares to rouse him? The scepter will not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until he, to whom it belongs, shall come, and the obedience of the nations shall be his. He ties his donkey to a vine, his colt to the choicest branch. He washes his garments in wine, his robes in the blood of grapes. His eyes are darker than wine, his teeth whiter than milk. Zebulun will live by the seashore and become a haven for ships. His border will extend toward Sidon. Issachar is a strong donkey lying down between two saddlebags. When he sees how good the resting place is and how pleasant the land, he will bend his shoulder to the burden and submit to forced labor. Dan will provide justice for his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan will be a snake by the roadside, a viper along the path that bites the horse's heels so its rider falls backward. I wait for your salvation, O Lord. Gad will be attacked by a band of raiders, but he will attack them at their heels. Asher's food will be rich. He will provide delicacies fit for a king. Naphtali is a doe set free that bears beautiful fawns. Joseph is a fruitful vine near a spring, whose branches climb over a wall. With bitterness, archers attacked him. They shot at him with hostility. But his bow remained steady, his arms strong by the hand of the mighty one of Jacob, by the shepherd, the rock of Israel. Because of your father's God, who helps you, because of the Almighty, who blesses you with blessings of the heavens above, blessings of the deep below, blessings of the breasts and womb. Your father's blessings are greater than the blessings of the ancient mountains, than the bounty of the age-old hills. Let all these rest on the head of Joseph, on the brow of the prince among his brothers. Benjamin is a ravenous wolf. In the morning he devours the prey. In the evening he divides the plunder. All these are the 12 tribes of Israel, and this is what their father said to them when he blessed them, giving each the blessing appropriate to him. Then Jacob gave instructions. I am about to be gathered to my people. Bury me with my fathers in the cave in the field of Ephron the Hittite, the cave in the field of Machpelah, near Mamre in Canaan, the burial place Abraham bought with the field from Ephron the Hittite. There Abraham and his wife Sarah were buried, there Isaac and Rebekah are buried, and there I buried Leah. The field and the cave were bought from the Hittites. When Jacob had finished giving instructions to his sons, he drew his feet up into the bed, breathed his last, and was gathered to his people. Joseph threw himself on his father, wept over him, and kissed him. He ordered the physicians in his service to embalm his father Israel. So the physicians embalmed him, and it took 40 days, the usual time. The Egyptians mourned for him 70 days. When the mourning period was over, Joseph said to Pharaoh's officials, If I've found favor in your eyes, please tell Pharaoh this. My father made me swear an oath. He said, I'm about to die. Bury me in the tomb I dug for myself in the land of Canaan. Please let me go and bury my father, then I'll return. Pharaoh said, Go and bury your father as he made you swear. So Joseph went up to bury his father. All Pharaoh's officials went with him, the senior members of his court, and all the leaders of Egypt. Joseph's whole household, his brothers, and his father's household went too. Only their children, flocks, and herds were left in Goshen. Chariots and horsemen also went up with him. It was a very large procession. When they reached the threshing floor of Atad, they mourned loudly and bitterly for 7 days. When the Canaanites saw the mourning, they said, "The Egyptians are holding a solemn ceremony." So that place near the Jordan was named Abel Mizraim, meaning mourning of Egypt. So Jacob's sons did as he had commanded. They carried him to Canaan and buried him in the cave of Machpelah, the cave Abraham had bought from Ephron the Hittite as a burial site. After burying his father, Joseph returned to Egypt with his brothers and all who had gone with him. When Joseph's brothers saw their father was dead, they said, "What if Joseph holds a grudge against us? What if he pays us back for all the wrong we did to him?" So they sent word to Joseph, saying, "Before he died, your father gave us this message. Say to Joseph, 'Please forgive your brothers for the wrongs and sins they committed in treating you so badly. Now please forgive the sins of your servants, who serve the God of your father.'" When Joseph heard this, he wept. His brothers came and threw themselves before him. "We are your slaves," they said. But Joseph said, "Don't be afraid. Am I in the place of God? You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. So don't be afraid. I will provide for you and your children." He reassured them and spoke kindly to them. Joseph stayed in Egypt along with his father's family. He lived 110 years. He saw the third generation of Ephraim's children, and also the children of Machir, son of Manasseh. They were placed on Joseph's knees at birth. Then Joseph said to his brothers, "I'm about to die, but God will surely come to your aid and take you up from this land, to the land he promised on oath to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob." Joseph made the Israelites swear an oath, "When God comes to help you, carry my bones up from this place." Joseph died at age 110. They embalmed him and placed him in a coffin in Egypt,